personally kept a 26-year-old American woman, Kayla Mueller, as a hostage and raped her repeatedly, according to U.S. officials and her family. It's just unbelievable what this woman went through. And then, of course, they murdered her and said she was killed in a campaign that we killed her. In other words, our missiles. In an interview on Friday, Kayla's family said that the FBI had informed them that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader, the emir of the Islamic State, had sexually abused their daughter, a humanitarian worker. Mueller's parents said the FBI first spoke to the family about the sexual assault in late June and provided more details 2 weeks ago. The Bureau pieced together what happened to the American from interviews with other hostages and the captured wife of a senior Islamic State figure. The FBI also told the Muellers that their daughter had been tortured. June was hard for me, said Marcia Mueller, Kayla's mother. I was really upset with what I heard. The disclosure that Mueller was raped by Baghdadi adds to the grim evidence that the exploitation of women has been sanctioned at the highest levels of the Islamic State. The sexual enslavement of even teenage girls is seen as religiously endorsed by the group and regarded as a recruiting tool. News of Baghdadi's abuse of Mueller, who was from Prescott, Arizona, was first reported Friday by The Independent, a London newspaper. Quote, as painful as this is for our family, we just feel like the world needs to know the truth, says Carl Mueller, Kayla's father. The Muellers noted that Friday would have been their daughter's 27th birthday. The Islamic State claimed that Mueller was killed earlier this year after a Jordanian fighter plane dropped a bomb on the building where she was held. The U.S. government confirmed the death, but not the cause. Mueller's family had previously released a letter their daughter had written in which she talked about the conditions of her captivity. Please know I am in a safe location, completely unharmed and healthy. Put on weight, in fact. I have been treated with the utmost respect and kindness, she wrote in the letter. Yeah, of course. These aren't like Nazis. That's what they are. They're Islamo-Nazis. Islamo-fascists. Scum. So they forced her to write a letter like that. Well, now we know the truth. Kayla's mother said that she had thought her daughter had been treated reasonably well until she learned the conditions of her captivity. Can you imagine this woman, Keith? I mean, the mother thinking that, oh, at least she was being treated well, and then they find out that she's been tortured and raped all day by 30 men a day.
I would have been furious.
I mean, you destroy this woman, you know. The truth of it, you know, you need to get the truth, but my God, to think that the woman was, at least she was being treated well, and your daughter's being treated.
And this is why people become extremist.
Yeah.
It's this type of stuff that turns them into extremist.
Good, and this is what happens. You know, I don't know. I don't know what extremist is. I just know that this is evil. Extremism is just another one of these words that these.
Well, look what they did to her. That would drive any parent to go mad.
Oh, well, yes. It's just unbelievable. Now, Baghdadi, this scumbag, is a former Iraqi insurgent who was detained by U.S. forces early in the Iraq War. He was part of an al-Qaeda affiliate in Iraq, which means he could be a CIA operative, and that he's thought to have been largely destroyed before the civil war in Syria. Although little is known of his background, Baghdadi is regarded as an experienced fighter and capable leader. His most prominent public appearance came last year when he surfaced at a mosque in Mosul to declare himself the leader of a restored caliphate. Oh, boy. So Mueller was abducted in August of 2013, so she's been raped daily and tortured since August of 2013. Unbelievable. Almost 2 years. 2 years. 2 years. Just unbelievable. Now, what we have here is another report released in April by the Human Rights Watch, who accused the Islamic State of war crimes for its brutal treatment of female Yazidis, many of them teenagers who were captured in Iraq last August, taken to Syria, and forced into sexual slavery by the Islamic State. Why doesn't the mainstream media cover this? Why is Obama on vacation in Martha's Vineyard when these Christians are being literally, the earliest form of Christians, the Yazidis, the earliest Christians, are being literally, it's a genocide. They're being slaughtered. No, we don't do that, but we have to worry about the war on women. You know, we have to worry about global warming. We have to worry about all of these distractive things, you know, racial tensions, because they continue. That's what they want. They want to distract us as they destroy this world.
Sounds like another tax to me.
Everything's a tax, brother. Everything is. We're taxed. We're taxed. Air will be taxed next. And it basically is. Global warming is just a fraud to take away the wealth of the people and distribute wealth. That's the whole idea. Everyone's got to wake up that this is what's happening.
Did you hear that Connecticut's going to start charging people for every mile they drive?
They want to try.
They're going to tax you for every mile. You can't tax people for traveling. It is a constitutional right. Assholes!
Well, this is the unconstitutional
state. You tax me
state.
for fucking walking next? I'm sorry. I
drive for a living, so how do you think I feel?
Yeah, I'm really starting to hate this state.
That's why I'm moving. I'm leaving this state soon. Not going to say when, but not in days or weeks or months even, but soon. And this place is a cesspool.
Is it going to be a sidewalk tax?
Look, it's a cesspool. It's becoming a third world cesspool.
Didn't we have a tea party for a reason?
Well, I'm going to go into a lot today. This is an important broadcast. For those that are listening, please stay tuned for all of it, because in the next 2 hours, or what's left of the show in these 2 hours, we're going to go into so much stuff, especially this whole thing with Zionism, which is anti-Semitic, and the way that this is all tied into the New World Order and their attempt to basically level out society into a two-class neo-feudal system.
I'm going to start taxing people for talking to me.
Well, you know that. Well, again, you can't tax because you're not a government.
There's a tax for using that microphone.
Yeah, microphone tax. Yeah. Hey, don't give the FCC any ideas. You know, my point is simply that yes, they're trying to regulate everything that they do to stifle growth. While they claim to be working for jobs and all, it's all horse shit. And if you can't see that and you can't understand that, it's very sad, because you're just a dyed blue, brainwashed Democrat or socialist or whatever you are. You're not a human being. You're not actually a critically thinking person that understands that we can't all of our ideological virtues, all of our wishes and utopian fantasies are not attainable. These people that are controlling the world here believe themselves to be gods, so they believe that they're perfect and that humanity itself can evolve so that we all become gods. This is their ideology, their philosophy, and what they're working for us to believe. You really believe you can be perfect? We are imperfect. How can we be made perfect? Well, they can make you perfect by geoengineering your DNA.
We can make everything perfect by taxing it.
That's another. Well, of course. Well, you hit it right on the head. But Keith, that's the truth. That's what they're doing. They're saying we're going to stop global warming by taxing it. We're going to stop drunk driving by taxing it. We're going to stop everything that they try to stop can't be stopped. They stopped prohibition. They created a crime syndicate.
We're going to stop. We're going to stop people from smoking by taxing it to death.
Yeah. Right. It's just everything is all about control of human behavior.
What's going on here? Like, where's all this money going?
There's to the top, to the wealthiest. That's why the wealthiest are getting all the money. It's being funneled to them through many ways, through corporations, through foundations. Oh my God, yeah, this is how it's being stolen. You know, the IRS does. They're a racket. It's a crime syndicate, and then they're in league with the lawyers who make deals with the IRS, money made out of thin air, that now they say that you owe tax on, that they give up to 50% fines and interest and penalties, and then you make a deal with them to reduce the amount you owe and pay a lawyer, and the lawyer gets paid, and the IRS ends up getting their money, but they really weren't entitled to any of it. It's a fraud. It's unconstitutional. The Federal Reserve System is criminal, and we're going to be covering the Federal Reserve System in this speech that I have from Benjamin Friedman. Now, it's interesting because I don't want to go too far ahead, but Benjamin Friedman was looked at as an anti-Semite and all this. He was a Jew who actually converted to Catholicism and exposed the Zionism, the Zionists, the New World Order, the false Jews of the Bible. They say they're Jews, but they're really not. They're atheists, Satanists. And they're the people behind all this. Many of them are Jews. Many of them are not. They're Christians, but they're not really Christians. They're fake. They're false. Like the same concept of these Islamic Nazis, okay, and the Nazis themselves. What is Nazis? Let's think of it. Think of it. How do you think they came up with the word Nazi? Remember, they were calling the Nazis Nazis before they were bad. It was in the, the rise of Hitler. Hitler was on Time magazine, the cover twice, I think 3 times. He was Man of the Year once. I mean, they loved the Nazis. They were so Germany was just so wonderful. But where do you think they got Nazis from? How do you go from National Socialists, because by the way, they were socialists, National Socialists to Nazis? Does that sound like the same? Nazi, National Socialist? Does that actually sound like Nazi? I'm asking you. It doesn't really sound like Nazi. I mean, truthfully, National Socialist would be like nationalist. Nazi? How do they get Nazi? But you know what does sound like Nazi? National Zionist.
Right?
Not Nazi, National Zionist, because the Zionists created this whole. They funded Hitler. They wrote through the secret societies, the Skull and Bones, and the Brotherhood of Death, and the Thule Society.
Do you know they have a Wikia page?
Who?
Nazi.wikia.com.
Yeah, but Nazi is more Zionism. Nazi, National Zionism. Well, what is Israel? Israel is a socialist state. It's another one. National Socialists, okay? But Zionism, Nazi, National Zionists. And these Zionists have been working since 1896 to bring about this world government, and it's going to be covered completely in the second half of the show. But look at what happened to this woman. I mean, it's just unbelievable, this Mueller girl. Can you just imagine, Now, what happens to these women? Here's an example. A report released in April by the Human Rights Watch accused the Islamic State of war crimes. After surging into northern Iraq, the city of Sinjar last year, Islamic State fighters captured as many as 1,000 Yazidi women. Many of them were given a bleak choice of marriage to a fighter or imprisonment and potential death. The Human Rights Watch report focused on 20 women who escaped the group and provided details of their treatment. One described attempting to kill herself by going into a bathroom, turning on the water, and grasping a wire to electrocute herself, but there was no electricity. After being discovered, she was badly beaten, handcuffed to a sink, stripped of her clothes, and washed. They took me out of the bathroom, brought me in, and raped her in a room in front of her, said the woman, who referred to as Leela. She, too, was later raped. Another victim, who was only 12 years old, said that after being abducted in Sinjar, the woman and her family were separated from the men and sent to a house in Mosul. Islamic State fighters would come and select us, she said. One of the captors beat her, she said, and then spent 3 days having sex with her. That's sick. This is it. This is the real war on women. Now, where are these women's rights advocates? Where is this? Where is Obama? He's at Martha's Vineyard. Where's Hillary? She's with naked selfie degenerate Anthony Weiner's humiliated wife, Huma Abedin, coming up with more lies to cover up her top secret email scandal. I think Huma likes to be humiliated. I could just see her adulterer husband, Oscar Mayer Wiener, giving her a golden shower or crapping in her mouth like the vile ingrate that he is. Let's hear it for the sexual revolution and the decline of the Western civilization. Anthony Weiner. I guess they're all too busy covering up their lies and shilling for Planned Parenthood, who engage in genocidal war against women and their unborn female children. Doesn't the female fetus matter? Is it only black lives that matter? I thought all lives matter. But black lives don't matter to Planned Parenthood, since 50% of black pregnancies end in abortion. Do you know that? That's right. This is genocide. Now, where's Al Sharpton protesting? I'll tell you, it reveals an obvious agenda. Can you see the agenda here? Can you understand it? It's just a fraud to get control so that they can steal more money from you, take more away from you, and force you to live under their thumb. That's not freedom. That's not liberty. When they say freedom and liberty, they're talking about slavery and imprisonment. That's what they're talking about. When they talk about prosperity, they're talking about poverty. Because all the prosperity we've been seeking and all the social programs put in since the 1960s have left America worse off than it was when it started in 1964 economically. For 93 million, a third of the country is not working. They're not working. We're supporting 56% of the population. Workers support the rest of the of the population. It's just crazy. The entire war on women is a political ploy that began with the Equal Rights Amendment movement and the National Organization for Women. Abortion rights were their main rallying cry. That's what it's all about. It's not about choice. It's not about women's rights. It's about abortions. And money. It's always about money. Planned Parenthood became their benefactor, by the way, the National Organization for Women and Equal Rights Amendment. That's where, Planned Parenthood was big behind that. Planned Parenthood was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation and founded by racist, Nazi-loving, KKK white supremacist Margaret Sanger. That's right. She was a racist, Nazi-loving, KKK white supremacist, and she's held to high esteem by blacks. People like Kerry Washington. Unbelievable. Especially the fact that Obama, too, said, Planned Parenthood, it's such a good thing for and it's unbelievable. They target black. Ben Carson went out on the record finally about this, and it hit the mainstream. Maybe some of these sheeple will start waking up. Ben Carson was talking about Planned Parenthood targeting blacks for abortion, not for contraception. They don't even do mammograms. It's all a lie. Everything they want you to believe. The whole key to understanding the New World Order is that they want you to believe what is basically the opposite of reality. And most people buy their bullshit. They can get caught in lie after lie, but you still love Hillary Clinton, covering up everything from Whitewater to her illegal operations when she was on the committee to investigate Nixon in Watergate. They fired her because she was corrupt. I mean, this is stuff on record. She changed her tune. When Bill Clinton became the governor of Arkansas and they were moving cocaine through MENA with Barry Seal and the CIA to fund the Contras. You forget about that too, right? Well, this is history. This is what they don't want you to know about. They don't want you to think about how corrupt the system is, and that you're just putting the wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what all of these people are. Unbelievable. Margaret Sanger. Yeah. So Planned Parenthood was funded, and it was created to promote abortion, especially in the black community, and to bring more women into the workplace so they can be taxed and be away from the home and the kids. That was the whole idea of the women's lib movement. Come on. It was to get them into the workplace, and the communist way of life is to break down the family. That's just as, I'm not making this stuff up. This is the agenda, and has it not happened? This is what they do, written in the book, 1848, funded by the Rothschild family, written mostly by Frederick Engels, but Karl Marx gets the credit. But really, it was dictations. They were taking dictations from the Illuminati. That's the truth. That's what happened, and that's what they're doing. They're putting this Illuminist philosophy, communism. What about the letter of Albert Pike and to Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini, speaking of the 3 world wars? And the last one, interestingly enough, would be Islam against Judaism. Isn't that interesting? And what do we have now? We have the false Jews, the Zionists in Israel, that the true religious Jews abhor and do not support the state of Israel. But they won't tell you that on the news either. They won't tell you when hundreds of thousands of rabbis go to the capital to protest Israel. That doesn't make the news. But AIPAC, and if you're against AIPAC or you're against Israel, you're an anti-Semite. I'm putting all this together. These pieces are starting to tie together. You'll see how they all will at the end. They usually do. Unbelievable. Even though it's a vast, wide spiderweb of evil, it all somehow meets in the middle and makes sense at the end. So you have to understand this and take this information to heart. Don't just believe it. Look at it. Research it. Find your own truth. It's the only way to do this. Once you know what's wrong, then you can tell people, listen, this isn't right here. This whole perspective is controlled so others can benefit. While they say they're trying to help us, it's the Hegelian dialectic. They're creating the problem. And they say they're going to help to fix the problem when they're the ones creating it. Come on. It's a scam. This whole thing was never about women's rights. It was always about breaking up the family. That's it. Getting the women, remember that Angeli commercial? You could take home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, you know, never let you forget that you're a man, right? I'm a woman. Remember that in the late 70s and the 80s? Yeah, that was all part of the social control. Great book you should read is all about subliminal seduction by Keyes. I forget his full name. Great book written in the 70s. It just shows that there are so many signals and given to us subconsciously in the media, and it's even worse now. But back then, it was just mostly in newsprint. But now it's everywhere. It's in the videos. It's in the movies. It's everywhere. It was in there then as well, but not as permeating the culture as it is now. So we're all being subliminally seduced on a daily basis just by watching, you know, the TV. And speaking of that, it's great news. The New World Order controllers are certainly going to be upset that we have people are canceling their cable subscription. They can't be programmed anymore. They don't want cable. It's beautiful. It's the greatest thing I've heard in weeks. And everybody should cancel their cable. There's no reason for it. You should find the information you wish to see. You can get it all when you want it. That's freedom, not this programming that you must listen to, or alternate programming, all of which has messages and signals and symbols and that they want you to have. So they're gonna be in a little bit of a titty about this. You know, they'll have to cut the prices because they want us programming. You know, again, giving people free television would, you know, if it gets down to that, they'll just go back the old way. They want people to be programmed. The social controllers need us to have this propaganda so that they can use the politicians and the celebrities to advance their agenda and to sell them the Madison Avenue Hollywood shine required to change public opinion or to control public opinion. But like going this whole thing with women's rights, and then it's never about anything they say it is. It's never about that. Because if it was really about women's rights, we would be bombing ISIS out of there and saving these people. This girl wouldn't have been in prison, wouldn't have been tortured and raped for 2 years, you know? It's unbelievable. You know? In communist countries, children are educated and cared for by the state. Check out communist China or communist Cuba, all totalitarian regimes. America is engaged in a silent war fought with quiet weapons to create a secular, cultural Marxist society. Do some research. It was never about women's rights. It's about breaking up the family. They want you to work so they can tax you and be away from the home so the kids can basically lose that whole fabric. That's why crime is so rampant, because the family life has been shot in the last 30, 40 years. If Gloria Steinem, where is Gloria Steinem? If Gloria Steinem, whose Ms. Magazine, by the way, was also funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, was really a true activist for women's rights and sincerely wanted to recognize oppression of women, Gloria Steinem and her ilk would strike out against the ongoing horror against women at the hands of Islam and Sharia law. What about the honor killings, some occurring here in the U.S., where husbands kill their wives or children for dishonoring them? It happened in San Francisco. Other places. This is happening every day, but it doesn't get reported. It does happen. Well, that's right. That's just domestic violence. They call it domestic violence. A guy kills his daughter because she disrespected him. That's in the Quran. They can do this. They can stone them. Okay? The Quran is Satan's greatest deception on humanity. What about the rape of children, sexual slavery, stonings, genital mutilations, and other oppression of women that happens every day? Where's Gloria Steinem? Why continuously chime in on the same old feminist rhetoric of income inequality and the right to have a government-funded abortion while praising immorality as moral and breaking up the traditional family? You see, if it doesn't suit the agenda, it is not a war on women. Even if 8-year-old girls are raped up to 30 times a day by the Islamo-fascist scum. That's what they're doing. Right now, an 8-year-old girl is being raped by some sick, twisted piece of shit Islamic fascist that wants you dead too. While you want to love him and give him courtesy, we have to have compassion. Like they overturned the death penalty here in Connecticut. Did you know that? They overturned the death penalty so the Pettit family, people that killed children, okay, they're not going to be serving the death penalty. And then that brings up that whole argument. Well, how come these pro-life people are for death penalty? Because a baby is innocent. It hasn't done anything. It deserves life. These scum that murder and kill children, okay? You can't make the comparison. But you see, it has to like justify in their minds so that they can have their agenda. Not what's right and wrong, not what's good or evil, but what suits the agenda. That's what's wrong with America. And that's the same thing for conservatives. These people are, some of these right-wing, ultra-right-wing Christian fundamentalists are out of their minds, okay? I mean, Jesus said, love everyone, okay? Love your enemy, okay? But, there's a limit to what we're talking about here. We have to talk about what's right and what's wrong. And it is wrong to take in a position that you're for women's rights and ignore any aspect of that. That shows an agenda. Because they don't want you to know this. They don't want you to know these things. And you say to yourself, but why the hell wouldn't they want you to know these things? Why wouldn't they want you to know that these women are being raped, these children? Maybe that the public would finally actually wake up to realize that this is being allowed to happen, that the secret societies are aligned, creating this problem, that you have this asshole Kerry, Skull and Bones Kerry, negotiating with Iran. And in Baghdad, Iran, okay, actually in Iraq, the Roshaniya Illuminati come from that area of Persia. I mean, this thing completely reeks of the ancient societies working to bring in this thing together. And guess what? Obama's a Mason. He's a Freemason. Another part of the secret societies. Okay? There's a lot of them. The Freemasons, the Skull and Bones, the Brotherhood of the Dragon, the Brotherhood of the Snake, the Brotherhood, it's known as the Brotherhood, the Quest, the Order of the Quest. There's many of them. And all of these societies are working for the same goal of this one world government, one world religion. And if you read Albert Pike, who was a high-level Freemason, in fact, they built a temple to him in Washington, D.C., honoring him with a big statue and everything else, Masonic temple. And he was a general. He was a Confederate general in Civil War. And a brilliant man, a genius, and wrote a book called Morals and Dogma, where he admits that the secret behind Freemasonry is that Lucifer, the big secret, is that Lucifer is the true God, the one and only God, the light bearer. So when they say give the light, when a Mason takes his oath and he's blindfolded and they remove the blindfold, let the brother see the light. The light they're talking about is the light of Lucifer, the light of knowledge. They're Gnostics. That's what the G stands for. It doesn't stand for geometry. It stands for Gnosticism. They're Gnostics. They believe that intellect rules. And these are the people at the highest levels of our government, the highest levels of all industry, the highest levels of technology. The highest levels of technology known as the order, the Jason, all capital letters, Jason group, not society. The Jason group. Jason group were behind the Manhattan Project. They were behind many of the space exploration technologies. Many of the DARPA, what is creating our military. I mean, they have stuff DARPA has stuff that's frightening. I don't know if you've ever seen these dogs. They look like they're like mechanical dogs, and they have robots. They're making a robot soldiers, and that's really scary because there'll come a time where the soldiers will say, "Listen, I'm not going to put up arms against my brother and take away their rights." That's why we're protecting. We're stopping that from happening. That's why they want our guns so badly, because those that want to protect the constitutional republic that we have here, so that it's not stolen and taken away from us, they're working very hard to do this so that we just give up the Constitution. And once we do that, we'll be in slavery and servitude probably for thousands of years. It never happened before. That's the other thing that these mind-controlled communists and socialists and brain-dead people and sheeple don't get, is that this experiment that's a little over 200 years old never happened before. in the history of mankind. So how can it be bad? Because it was founded by slave owners? You're going to buy that? If you want to buy that, please buy all these bridges and I'm going to sell you and all this other crap. All right? That's what we have to do. We have to wake up to the lies. Okay, we're going to be taking a break. I'll be back in just a few minutes with more stuff on the New World Order. We're going to be covering the Clinton emails. Talking about gay marriage leading to a surge in gay divorce. We'll talk about the social implications of that. And then we'll be getting into Zionism, which is really anti-Semitic.
Looking for a game system or games? Or maybe a piece of stressed or unstressed furniture at a reasonable price? Or maybe you're a Kiss fan and you're looking for that perfect memorabilia piece that you've searched all over for, but still haven't found? Well, Second Chance Thrift Shop just might be the place to find your next piece of furniture or Kiss memorabilia piece while supplies last. Second Chance Thrift Shop offers different items from clothes at reasonable prices to electronics and game systems, and games at very low prices. But that's not all they offer. They also offer jewelry and books and other finds at very low prices. So stop on by the Second Chance Thrift Shop located at 523 Main Street in Torrington, Connecticut, across from Walgreens. Come on down and find your hidden treasure today.
Patriot Taxi is glad to be servicing the Torrington area. We are your best call for safe and reliable transportation. Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday nights from 5 p.m. until 3:30 a.m. If the customer yells baboon at the driver, they will receive a 10% off the metered fare. Why drink and drive when you can call up for a safe, reliable ride home? Patriot Taxi operates from 4 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday. 24-hour service on Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays due to the limited size of the fleet. First call, first served. Reservations are required from Monday through Saturday mornings. Call off your ride today at 860-869-4111. That's 860-869-4111. United FM, powered by
1.21 gigawatts. What the hell is a gigawatt?
colorhost.co. Check out colorhost.co for all your streaming and web hosting solutions today.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Are you trying to run hard, deep, and silent at night, but instead you're waking the dead?
Why, yes, honey. I think we terrorized the neighbors enough with our sex noises.
Are you tired of that squeaky, sagging mattress and waking up with back pains? Well, why not spring out of bed today and head down to Mattress Direct of Torrington. They're officially open to the public by appointment only. Save 40 to 70% off the big box retailer price on brand name mattress sets, all made in the USA. Everything is brand new, factory sealed and manufacturer's plastic, and even comes with a warranty. Queen size sets start at $150, with 6 sets under $600. 20-inch thick mattresses with 4-inch thick pillow top set includes gel lumbar support for only $775. Many styles to choose from, including pillow tops, plush Euro tops, firm memory foam, gel beds, and more. Cash, debit, credit welcome as well. No credit check. Financing options within the first 90 days at 0% interest. Just $40 down and take home the bed of your choice today. Delivery available for a nominal fee. Mention you heard this ad on United FM radio and receive an additional $25 off any bed, excluding starter sets. Inventory is limited. First come, first serve basis. Call 762-BEDTIME. That's 762-233-8463 and ask for Jay. He'll be happy to answer all your questions.
Hi, this is Keith Much from UnitedFMRadio.com. If you aren't already a fan of us on Facebook, we highly recommend becoming one. The best way for you to interact with us is via our Facebook page, where we encourage likes, comments, and shares. So go there now and give us a like and suggest our page to your friends. Our page is located at Facebook.com/United Radio FM. Again, that's Facebook.com/United Radio FM.
piss off your wife or girlfriend again? Is her birthday or your anniversary coming up? Don't buy her flowers. Instead, drop by my Facebook page at facebook.com/Beaded Jewelry by Mel and look at everything I have to offer, from handmade jewelry at affordable prices to handmade crafts such as key rings for as little as $5 each. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. You can also call me at 860-785-4270 or email me at jewelrybymelissaroy@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to assist you from answering all your questions regarding your order to customizing your order today.
This is United FM Radio. Howard will be right back right after this song.
I was a number one sinner, no less. My life was a lie and my wish was a death. I fell in love with the ways of the world. Money, the fame, the booze, the girls. But I couldn't stay faithful if I tried. I turned into a devil, you can see it in my eyes. I blacked out, told you everything I ever did. I couldn't take all the lies I was living with. I broke your heart, woke up the next day. My bag's outside, yelling, get the hell away. You're not a husband, not a father, just a pig. And you can never change all the things that you did. That's when I knew it wouldn't last. You'll never get away when you're running from the past. Fly into outer space, float away, but you're my gravity. This hell that I'm living in, and I can't escape it. This is how it feels when you try to numb the pain with 1,000 pills. You tore me down, wish that I was dead. Said you wanna sleep alone in another bed, but when I push away, you only pull me closer. It's only over when we both wanna say it's over. I gotta change, this is not who I am. I wanna start over, wanna try this again. You're everything I need, everything I'm not. So pull the trigger, give me one more shot.
Look me straight in the eyes. No matter what you say, I don't know truth from the lies. So how'd you hope, like I always do? I forgave you for your sins and I carried you through. No matter how hard we fall, we always knew you would bleed for me and I would bleed for you. Fly into outer space, afloat away, but you're my gravity.
Utopia on this earth will never exist. The best chance we have is if everyone stops stirring the pot and do the right things. Do right by yourselves, by your job, your coworkers, your friends, family, your unborn child. Do the right thing because it is the right thing to do, and there will be little wrong in the world. You know, we as a society can never be perfect unless we were genetically designed that way, and I believe some of the mad scientists of the world are indeed working on this. It all sounds good, but the devil is in the details. Only God is perfect. But of course, there is also a war on God, because those who seek to control us believe that due to their intellect and their wealth, they are gods. They're Gnostics. They worship knowledge and the mysteries. They believe seeking pleasure and avoiding pain is the number one priority in life. When morality and doing the right thing becomes less important than doing what you want, and all else be damned, society is heading for deep decline. This is very dangerous in many ways. The parallels to the fall of Rome are frighteningly similar. Today, the barbarians, known as the Vandals, have been replaced by Islam. To not call out and protest against the heinous acts committed in the name of Allah as Islamic terrorism is insanity. Or an agenda. Millions of Christians, Jews, and Muslims are being slaughtered and beheaded in Africa and the Middle East, with little attention or fanfare by the controlled mainstream press. Everyone is watching baseball, naked dating, and becoming us, as America becomes a depraved third world socialist cesspool. Amidst the chaos of more than 1,000 bombings, gas shortages, and the energy crisis of the mid-1970s, while the women's movement enticed women to burn their bras, Congress attempted to curb sex and violence in the media. Deep Throat was a big hit in 1972. It was the first porno film to make the mainstream. That year, Linda Lovelace predicted that porn and mainstream film would one day merge. Today, the line between porn and mainstream cinema is indeed getting thinner and thinner. In the mid-1970s, Carol O'Connor, who played Archie Bunker in All in the Family and on other shows, and others in the entertainment community, spoke out against the government's attempt to curb violence and sex on TV and in the movies, successfully arguing that curtailing sex and violence was censorship. I wonder what Archie Bunker would think of Miley Cyrus swinging naked on a wrecking ball today. How much social distortion and destruction has resulted due to the sexual revolution? Too much. We can see that in today's disposable marriages, broken homes, and our hypersexualized society. From the 1950s Leave It to Beaver to today's Miley Cyrus bald beaver on a wrecking ball. We can all thank sociopath, pedophile, and masochist Alfred Kinsey, whose work sought to normalize deviant sexual behavior, thanks to funding from the Rockefeller Foundation. Who else? Oh, their claws are in just about everything, ladies and gentlemen. Alfred Kinsey was made famous by the establishment and is known as the father of the sexual revolution. His Rockefeller Foundation-funded studies set the stage for the massive social and cultural upheaval of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. His 1948 book, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, and his 1953 Sexual Behavior in the Human Female were and are the foundations for the construction of this false facade. Kinsey reported that between 30 to 45% of men had affairs, 85% of men had sex prior to marriage, and 70% of men had slept with prostitutes, and that between 10 and 37% of men had engaged in homosexual behavior. These findings were based on tainted evidence. The father of the sexual revolution was also a sadomasochist, bisexual sex criminal who facilitated the sexual torture of infants and children, if you can believe it, and it's true. Kinsey's research portrayed people as immoral, basically amoral, and sex-driven, and credited as fundamentally changing the way our culture views sex. Kinsey falsified his findings. He encouraged those he represented, or those that was working with him, to engage in all types of sexual activity as a form of research. So he got his co-workers to get into all these kinky sex things, and he misrepresented single people as married and hugely overrepresented incarcerated sex criminals and prostitutes in his data. Kinsey's other disturbing findings in an in-depth study on the sexual behavior of children claims that nearly 10% of men had performed sex acts with animals, and 3.6% of women had sex with animals. It's pretty nasty. This number rose to between 40 to 50% based on proximity to farms. I find that humorous. Kinsey himself was a sexual deviant, pedophile, and sex criminal. In her book, Sex, Lies, and Kinsey, Dr. Judith Reisman explained that Kinsey facilitated brutal sexual abuse to get his so-called research, which doesn't surprise me, considering the Rockefeller Foundation funded a lot of the MKUltra research as well through the CIA. It's very interesting. A lot of connections between Rockefeller and the CIA. Kinsey solicited and encouraged pedophiles at home and abroad to sexually violate from 317 to 2,035 infants and children for his alleged data on normal child sexuality. So he basically sexually abused up to 2,000 children who grew up, and these people, you know, they're all messed up. People that are victims of sexual abuse have horrible track records in life, ladies and gentlemen. It's just they're troubled their whole lives. It's one of the most horrific things that can be done to a human being. And many of the crimes against children, oral and anal sodomy, genital intercourse, and manual abuse committed for Kinsey's research are quantified in his own graphs and charts. For example, Table 34 on page 180 of Kinsey's Sexual Behavior in the Human Male claims to be a scientific record of multiple orgasms in pre-adolescent males. Here, infants as young as 5 months were timed with a stopwatch. Can you believe this? For orgasm by Kinsey's technically trained aides, with one 4-year-old tested 24 consecutive hours for an alleged 26 orgasms. I mean, that's just sick, you know? What the hell was this guy doing? Kinsey was enthusiastically heralded by mainstream publications such as Time and Life magazine. Time magazine, by the way, was founded by Yale Skull and Bonesman alumni Henry Luce, the founder of Time magazine, who was known by fellow bonesmen as Baal. Now, for those, I'm talking about the mystery schools, remember? I keep telling you about all of this. Well, Baal is one of the many gods that is worshipped in the ancient mystery religion of Babylon, a god who requires the blood sacrifice of children. Percy Rockefeller was also a Skull and Bones alumni from the class of 1900. He was also a New York lawyer, an oil man, of course, and gun dealer, who, along with his family, profited greatly from the Great War, World War I. The Kinsey propaganda campaign waged by Time and Life magazines proved to be nothing less than a monstrous facilitator of child rape. In fact, Kinsey, a psychopathic pedophile, even recorded children shrieking and thrashing in pain, passing out and convulsing as a result of the hellish abuse he was putting them through, as evidence of orgasm, especially for children who could not yet speak. Oh my God. Kinsey's so-called research was simply a quest to justify the fact that he himself was a deeply disturbed sociopath. Dr. Reisman writes, quote, both of Kinsey's most recent admiring biographers confessed he was a sadistic bisexual who seduced his male students and coerced his wife, his staff, and the staff's wives to perform for and with him in illegal pornographic films made in the family attic. Kinsey and his mates, Wardell Pomeroy, Clyde Martin, and Paul Gebhard, had front marriages that concealed their strategies to supplant what they say as a narrow, procreational Judeo-Christian era with a promiscuous, anything-goes bi-gay pedophile paradise. Quote unquote. Now, sadly, this is what seems to be happening. More and more, we're hearing about society breaking down, and this is the evidence of it, and why. And one of the reasons why, oh goodness, we see things that we see in television. They always refer to Kinsey and sexuality and sex education in schools. That's why Planned Parenthood is teaching children about how to have anal sex. I mean, what the hell is going on in this country? Yeah.
Should tax all that.
Well, they try to. They tax just about everything, my friend.
I'm sorry, that was way off.
It's not really, not too much. But, you know, it's just unbelievable. Planned Parenthood is advising their teen patients about S&M, anal sex, and other dangerous and deviant sex acts like asphyxiation as normal adolescent behavior as a result of this insane study. It's just madness. It's like it.
Whatever happened to the parents talking to the kids about the birds and bees? I know the birds.
Oh,
and
they
bees
just
have...
take, but they keep taking the parents away from us, from Keith. They take the parents away from the children. They separate them. The school system, the state, they become, they're disassociated from the parents. That's what they've done.
I mean, I thought the parents were supposed to talk to the kids about the birds and the bees or sex or weird stuff.
Yeah, but when you break up the family, and it's a lot of single-family homes and broken families and all the divorce and all the debauchery and all of this, hey, go for what you want if it feels good, but there's no repercussions, and here your repercussions are what they are. Who suffers? The kids suffer.
Well, I remember that video we were watching about, what was she, 13 years old?
I think she was 15.
15-year-old at a public school talking to the counselor.
It wasn't at school. That was Planned Parenthood.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. We talked about that, and that was Planned Parenthood advising this girl how to go.
So you're telling me the Planned Parenthoods around here are discussing sexual fantasies with our children?
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
So what if maybe during the week I should call a Planned Parenthood and be like, listen, I'm a very shy person. I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I don't know how to talk to her. But could you talk to my daughter about, because I saw on her computer about BDSM stuff, and I don't know how to talk to her about it. And see if they say, yeah, well, me, a complete stranger, will talk to your child about BDSM or any all this other stuff.
No, you'd have to probably be there, but it would be great to get if we can get somebody's daughter to play a ruse on that and film them, because they do this all the time. They get caught selling. They got caught selling.
I'm
organs.
just as bad as them if I get a 13-year-old involved in this.
No, not really. No, because it would be a sting. You'd be actually doing it to show them that these people are like, this is the kind of, when you ask them a question.
Yeah, but we're stinging ourselves.
Not really. No, you're actually not, because what this girl was doing, as you remember, it was that she was talking about all this stuff and was wondering what her advisement was.
But I'm
and she advised them to have sex.
I'm promoting the behavior, though.
No, you're not. You're exposing the behavior of Planned Parenthood
at the cost of a 14 or 15-year-old's morals.
I wouldn't say that, man. I think it would be the opposite. It's just
then again, these kids today, they know everything.
That's true too. That's because of this whole Kinsey crap, free love and all that shit. But my point gets down to this thing like with Planned Parenthood. Look, they got caught recently. They sell organs, and then another company, a major company, a biotech company that worked with Planned Parenthood, cut off their funding and stopped working with them as a result of this bad publicity, because they probably don't want to be part of it either. But that's nothing new. Planned Parenthood has been doing this for ages. This is how they operate. So of course they're going to. The background of this whole agenda is to really demoralize society.
So
to the point where you kill your mother for $1, or have sex with her, or sell her to someone else to have sex. I mean, it's going to get like that one day.
So tell me this thing about Planned Parenthood. Apparently, I know they do the abortions and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you're saying
they also give out condoms and birth control, but that's about it. That's all they really do. And then they advise, how to have safe sex and all of that. But mostly they're there. They don't do mammograms. They don't do real women's services. That's it.
So you're saying your 15-year-old daughter on her own can go talk to a complete stranger at Planned Parenthood
and get this advice
about sexual positions and different sexual practices?
Yes, that's what they go into this. That's why it's there. I mean, I reported on it 2 weeks ago.
I don't care. I mean, unless I'm a psychiatrist.
I played it on air. We played it on air.
I know. We played. But even if I was a licensed psychologist with a PhD and a doctorate and all that fun stuff, I would feel uncomfortable about talking to a 15-year-old about sexual practices.
Yeah, but these people
you have to be a molester.
I don't know about molester, but they're making the society is the molester. Don't you get it? That's the whole point. Society has become the molester.
Who's gonna have a conversation with a 15-year-old about sexual practices?
No, you're sure. It's right. Yeah, it's definitely right. Hey, lower that music, man. It's a little distracting.
Oh yeah, I was gonna have it in the background, but it is.
Yeah, you can kill it out. That's good. But no, seriously, it's just an insane situation, because they are slowly, incrementally reducing the morals while sexing up the sex. While you're increasing all the sexing up or hypersexualizing society, you're also reducing the moral standards. So not only are the people all up, it's all about sex. They'll do anything for it. and and at any cost, or it becomes, it's demoralizing. It's truly not liberating. It's not liberating to be a slut, or what, you know what I mean? It's really not.
So today's society, the two biggest things going on is we're being sexually molested, and we're being taxed to death.
Yeah, that's true. The
so
taxing,
if they could mix tax and sex together,
well, they like doing that. They try. Legal prostitution has taxes. So, in like Nevada,
Wait a minute, what?
Prostitution is legal in Nevada, and it's a tax and regulated thing. They're even talking about other places having prostitution become legal.
It seems like if they can tax it, it becomes legal. Doesn't matter what it is. Hey, I want to go across the street and kill my neighbor. Well, okay, you got to pay $100,000 in taxes.
Keith, if it moves, they will tax it, and if it doesn't move, they'll still tax it.
So maybe we'll have something like eventually like the purge. If you pay your taxes for the yearly purge, you can go out and kill all your neighbors and people you hate in town.
Yeah, right. Who knows, man?
But if it's taxable, it's legal.
Well, it's just the society has gotten to be, it's all about taking the wealth away from the people. I keep telling you that.
Speaking about dirty tax collecting assholes, what about this guy in town here? What's his name?
Oh, the Crovo.
Crovo?
Yeah.
Crovo.
Yeah.
Crovo, the criminal tax collector.
Yeah, he's shady. He's screwed a lot of people.
Yeah, I hear this city of Torrington just likes reaching right into people's bank accounts.
Yeah, they were doing some of that. I always thought that it was like, I sold my house.
I thought you need a warrant to go into someone's bank account and take money out of it.
Yeah.
How in the fuck?
Oh, no. Listen. Oh. They've already written laws around it. They're protected. That's what. Mm-hmm.
So that sounds like thievery to me.
Yeah, just like what's going to happen when everyone wakes up and 10 or 20% of their bank accounts are gone when the financial system collapses, and they're not going to tell us, and it's just going to happen, and it's written into the law that it can happen. So that's why I have no money in a bank.
I've heard.
I just have my pay, whatever goes into my checking account.
Do other towns do this? I've heard of people. Listen, I've heard of people owing taxes on their motor vehicle, and they take their registration away.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of the town going into someone's bank account and just taking money.
If they have access to the bank account, yeah, they can. If they have access,
they don't have
that.
He goes to the court. I asked somebody. He's like, "Oh yeah, they went in and took the taxes out for my car, and I was unable to pay my rent, and I got evicted." Isn't that upsetting the well-being of someone's life?
I don't know if they could do that. That's
they
what
did.
This in Torrington?
Yes,
really?
They reached right
for
into
car
the bank.
tax?
Yes, they reached right into the bank account and took the money out. He goes and gets warrants or some type of legal request to take the money if they have a bank account to just reach in.
No, that's true. I don't know. I don't know the background on why they would. How did they get access to his bank account?
That's what I'm saying. We need to go down to the town of Torrington and investigate this.
I don't know how could he have gotten the account. How could he have gotten his account information? You can't just. They're not going to
do something through the court. He does something through the court, and he's able to go in and take the money out of the bank accounts. But I guess this guy's a thief. I guess he's been squandering money or something. You saying he's going to jail?
Oh, I didn't say that. I said he should go to jail.
So what exactly did he do wrong?
Well, it's just that he's under assessed. He was just basically he guaranteed. Look, here's what he does. He guarantees for a fee. He guarantees to collect the taxes
for a fee.
Right. So then, in other words, Torrington doesn't have to worry. Torrington has X. Let's say it was $30 million. Let's say that was the tax. If everything was collected, it was $30 million. He guarantees the $30 million, and if anybody doesn't have it, he's on the hook and he collects it for those people. You understand? So he bonds out the tax for the town to Torrington. So Torrington's guaranteed the money. So Torrington's not upset. But what he was doing is he was over-assessing and under-assessing since he had that, probably to make up shortfalls or whatever else was going on, since he guaranteed the money. So, let's say they only got $25 million. Well, he's got to come up with $5 million, or he's on the hook for it, isn't he?
Right.
So he was overcharging people. It is allegedly. Excuse me, we're on the air. Allegedly. I wouldn't want them to sue me because I'm not sure. This is like, again, this is an investigation that's going on right now, and there might not be too much information on it. Certainly not too. There's a little bit that was put into the newspaper, so there is some public information that you could find at the
and where's this
Republican
guy,
American or the Register Citizen.
Where is this guy located, Corvo?
Well, he was the former. First of all, he was replaced, so they replaced him. He's no longer the tax collector. I forget the girl's name. She was.
Okay. Oh, he was replaced. Okay, so we swept.
And she's good actually because everyone got changes. I don't know. I guess they reassessed a few things, and my tax bill changed once they looked at it too. So it looks like he was doing some crooked stuff.
So what would he do? We just swept the dirt underneath the carpet and called it a day?
I think he did. Yeah, pretty much.
So there's no consequences for his dirty behavior.
At this point in time, I'm not sure what they're doing. I don't know if if it's part of the cabal, because every town, every municipality, every city, every state has a cabal, and generally the cabal works through your locally through the Mason Temple. So usually it's somebody who's a high level Freemason is in the town, or somebody is, and that's how they actually align all this stuff. Because a lot of times it's a racket that goes on. It's part of this secret society. It's an underhanded thing. It's not like people are just greedy, ladies and gentlemen. And once in a while you get a guy that's greedy and he gets caught in the finger jar. No, the ones that are getting away with it, they have a little racket going on, and that racket could be going on here. I mean, it happens in other towns. You hear it all the time. There's a lot of corruption. People getting busted. School people that were stealing money. Right? Where was that, in Winstead? Wasn't it Winstead? That the guy stole all the money. That the school district had no money at all. But
Speaking of Winstead.
Yeah.
Oh, did you hear? Did you see my thing about the Winstead Raggies?
No.
People are starting to turn into these literally brainless. You all see it on TV. Okay, we always joke about zombies. We talk about the zombie apocalypse. Yeah. Okay, but you know what? It's like this big fantasy. We got video games on it. We're on. Our kids are on our video game system. Killing zombies. Yeah, but you know what? There are live zombies in Winstead. I kid you not. Okay, no. You think it's funny? There's a I wrote a story on our Facebook page. No, actually, we're not doing. Oh, by the way, we're not doing no more stories on our Facebook page. Everything's being carried over to our .com.
Oh, UnitedFMRadio.com.
Yeah, because Facebook is becoming a major Nazi censoring bitch.
It is. It always has been. It's just another way for the government, the NSA, to collect data on us.
Right.
But I only put all the stuff here, so they know everything about me.
They're starting to censor shit. Facebook is becoming a censoring little fucking Nazi, and I'm sick of it.
Yeah, well, that's the way it is, man. You need to get your own. They do it all the time. Facebook is notorious.
Well,
they block me from liking things. They block me from sharing things. All sorts of crap. But I don't do much Facebook, honestly. I just promote the show a little bit, and I have groups that I put the videos. I share to there, but I don't really interact on Facebook. I don't get into any like conversations or anything like that.
Well,
texting.
This was on. Now I'm going to tell you. Winstead, Connecticut does in fact have zombies, and I'll explain to you why.
Go ahead.
They are walking live zombies in Winstead, Connecticut.
MK Ultra.
It's got to be something to do with MK Ultra.
Could be.
All right.
I don't know.
You have a guy who posted on the Winstead Facebook group. He's a DPW, Department of Public Works. Okay. He works on fleet maintenance. He takes care of the trucks. Okay. He's the guy that repairs the trucks.
Right.
Apparently, according to his post on the Winstead, Connecticut Facebook group, the zombies of I don't know if they're raggies or zombies. I'm just going to call them a raggy zombie. Of Winstead, Connecticut, were walking up to him.
Zaggies.
Zaggies.
Call them Zaggies.
Yes. So he's in town. He's walking around with his children on a bright sunny day, going to the park, and he's approached by the Zaggies. Okay. This is what they said to him. Now, mind you, he has his children with him, and these Zaggies.
Right.
These Zaggies asshats of Winstead are telling him that we're your boss because we pay taxes and we want they're swearing and cussing and almost threatening him with his children present.
Oh shit!
Complaining about potholes. But they said, quote unquote, we are your boss because we pay taxes. And what are you doing out with your kids today? You should be out fixing the potholes.
These people are sick. They're just sick people. I mean, those people are insane. You know, people.
You want to hear something even crazier?
And they're, you know, oh God, what?
This little witch. Actually, I have to go to the Facebook page because I want to say her name. I'm going to say her name because she deserves it. Guess what happens when I post the story to Winstead, Connecticut's Facebook group?
I don't know.
Take a wild guess.
Well, they block it.
Take a guess.
I just did.
The moderator.
There's a moderator for what?
Oh, yeah,
people
there's a
are
moderator.
assholes.
I call her the Nazi Raider.
Nazi Raider.
Nazi Raider. Okay, says to me...
Remember, Nazis are Zionists.
Tells me to take it down. Take down that post. Bitch, why don't you just delete it? I wrote here, Winstead Raggy's out of control. And then below that, it says, Winstead, Connecticut Facebook group moderator out of control. Gina L. Sartrina?
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Well, Gina L. from Winstead writes to me. She goes, threads like this add to the mentality.
Add to the what?
Mentality.
Add to the Reggie mentality?
Yeah. Because I wrote about how these Winstead people are out of control. I'm like, you know, they're running around like zombies attacking DPU workers or DPW. They're attacking the city workers on the streets while their kids are present.
Yeah, you know.
Saying, I'm your boss because I pay taxes.
Yeah, they probably don't even have jobs. So anyway.
Right.
That's another story. But what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? You know, I think it's just part of this whole breakdown.
But you know, it's what you're talking about. This is part of the breakdown.
Yeah.
Rather than the moderator saying, yeah, that you're right. The people of Winstead should not be verbally attacking city workers while they're out in the streets with their children.
Yeah, I know. But the children shouldn't be. That's the whole point. That's the point.
But for some reason, we're stuck on that this behavior is okay.
I don't know what to
take
say
down the
about
article. That's wrong. That's wrong of you to stick up for the city worker.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. You know, it's like logic. You know, I don't know. I just don't get it. I really don't get it.
But everything you talk about that's going on a global scale, I'm seeing it on a local scale.
Well,
I'm seeing
of course it's local.
I'm seeing the mindsets, the behavior, the mob mentality.
Oh, yeah.
These people who run around in large groups and randomly attack a single person, and through numbers, they justify their wrongful activity. Right. So if I got 50 people around me and I just come up to you, I don't even know you, and just smack you in the face as hard as I can, as long as I got that 50 other people to say you hit me, which it never even happened,
right.
I win.
Yeah. It's well, really what it is. It's delusional. It's phony. It's lies. It's, you know, fuck it. But people are always going to be, you know, that sort of bullying is the right word. You know, like that whole bullying.
So
thing.
What's dumbing people down?
The media for one, the media, the school, the education, the Common Core cookie cutter world we live in. And you know something? Honestly, it's just insane. In many states, American minors can get abortions, but they're not allowed to pray in school.
What?
That's right. And the movement away from God and morality has inched away from Kinsey. That goes back to go from Kinsey through the sexual revolution to today's Disney stars. You know, remember the Disney stars? Remember how you know, I don't know, apple pie and, you know, the Disney stars were like Annette Funicello. Remember, they were all like, you know, they're nice little girls, right? Well, now they've been transformed from cute little kids, and they start out cute, like if you remember Hannah Montana, right? She was cute, little girl, you know, whatever, into scantily clad, drug-addicted MK Ultra sex objects, like Britney Spears. These are all people from Disney. Could it be a coincidence that they all have the same sort of like...
Could you explain the MK Ultra thing again?
Okay, MK Ultra is a CIA mind control program to create basically mind-controlled perfect spies or slaves. That people that you could see the programming of it. It's to control behavior of people when they don't realize that they're being controlled. It's like sort of like hypnosis.
You have these super-powered idols that have that influence the general public,
right? And a lot of these people are MK Ultra, victims. Goes back to like the Unabomber. Ted Kaczynski was an MK Ultra participant in the 1960s. This is all on record. And he ended up being the Unabomber. So, I mean, you just figure out what's going on there. And the people like that shot John Lennon, all of these interesting people that happen, the so-called lone wolf psycho nut job, all show indications of mind control. Same thing goes with Sirhan, who doesn't remember anything about it, shooting Robert Kennedy. Mark David Chapman shot John Lennon and sat down and started reading Catcher in the Rye. Same thing goes with John Hinckley. John Hinckley also happened to have a copy of that book, but his brother was having dinner with Neil Bush that night. So the Bush family knew the Hinckley family. It's just really like just a lot, and it's all CIA influenced, and there's no question about it in my mind. You just have to do some research on it. I have a lot of links on my website, howardnema.com. You can just go in MK Ultra, be a whole bunch of stuff on that, and you got to look into it. It really is incredible. It goes down to the idea of LSD being put into the society, but it's all part of the demoralization. It all includes not just the mind control, but a way to really break down society. This whole free love thing, and like if it feels good, go do it. It breaks up the family. That's the goal. The goal is to destroy what for thousands and thousands and thousands of years has been the normal, operative operation of society is through you have a family, and now the family is not as it was 50 years ago. I mean, 50 years ago it was just there was just a closer connection. There wasn't this broken families and all of these other things. There wasn't all this distraction from one another into being individual, but that's the only way they want you to be individual. Get away from your family. Everything else is collective. It drives me nuts. It really drives me nuts because it's happening. I mean, watching it happen, you watch it happen right before your eyes. Britney Spears, Miley Cyrus, Christina Aguilera, Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes, Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato. These are all Disney stars. All of them, and they've all of them have had meltdowns and drug things, and you think that it's just that. No, it's not just that.
I think it's all plotted.
It's not plotted. They're MK Ultra mind control, and they have triggers, and it's very deep. I'll do a whole show on it and get into it, but if I start talking, it's like if I start going into it, it's gonna.
There was a movie I watched
next week. I'll do a whole thing on MK Ultra.
There was a movie I watched called Serenity. Okay. Where they had someone that had mind control when she was programmed or something.
Well, a lot of the stuff in television and the movies is like part of the MK Ultra. It's one of the sub-projects. There's a lot of different aspects of it. Also, it goes in line with something called Project Mockingbird, which was a way that they control the media and in the first place. I'll go over Mockingbird and MK Ultra, and I'll put together a nice little thing for next week. But as we're moving along here, I wanted to definitely, so we address this craziness. Now, that Obama could be on Martha's Vineyard while this is all happening, not even saying anything about this woman that was tortured. And, North Korea is threatening actually to have war with South Korea, but who knows? He's a crazy kid. The guy's the young kid. I forget his name.
Young Ching Wong,
whatever his name. Young Dong Wang, or dumb. One dumb fuck. That's what he is. One dumb fuck. Yeah. Well, one dumb fuck. Oh, I'm being politically incorrect.
You're gonna start a war doing that.
Yeah. One dumb fuck is now. I'm a racist, right? Okay. Well, one dumb fuck is threatening war with South Korea and warns the U.S. not to intercede. Well, just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we signed an there was actually no end to the war. We just sort of left. like we did in Korea, excuse me, we did that in Korea. In Vietnam, same thing. We just sort of left. Who knows? Like MacArthur said, I will be back, or I will return. He returned. Maybe we will. Who knows? Doesn't surprise me. They want North Korea. That North Korea is one of the countries that lacks a central bank owned by the Rothschild family. The other one is Cuba, which looks like we locked that up. We haven't talked about Cuba. Cuba. What about the Cubans? The Cuban people that came to this country are up in arms and freaking out about this whole thing, but you won't hear about it on the news. It's just incredible how controlled the media is. But believe me, the Cuban American people, it's only the children who have been influenced, and they'll even tell you. Their parents will tell in reports. You can get them on YouTube or in Miami. The just Google it. Cubans against Castro. Serious enough. It's easy enough. It's mostly the parents and not the children. The young generation have been westernized, and they don't see anything wrong with it. They actually have been programmed. That's part of this whole thing. Social control, MK Ultra, Project Mockingbird. It's all about social control, being able to control the population. If you can influence the population to do things that you want, you're very powerful. And that's what they've been doing. And they do it. They continuously do it. They could start any conflict and figure out a way to justify it and sell you on that point. And the sheep will buy it every time. Every time, over and over again. And then you find out it's a lie. Like with the whole war that we had for 10 years. Right? With Iraq and Afghanistan. The whole thing was it was based on a lie. But I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just paranoid. Worried that this is going to happen again. And you're paranoid there's going to be a financial collapse. You're paranoid that there's going to keep being wars all over the place. Come on. You think there's going to be a war in North Korea?
There was just a commercial on TV from a retired senator talking about the social collapse.
It's happening, man. It is. But, I'm just saying North Korea and Cuba. Cuba's locked up now. Once the deal is now Rothschild's got his bank in Cuba, and I will report on it as soon as it happens. It's going to come. I'm going to keep my eye on that. It won't be long. They'll get their grubby little
what's
slimy lengths in there.
Cuba at one point let Russia come in and point a bunch of missiles at us.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Tuck, duck, and roll? Well, I don't remember it, but I'm sure my grandfather does.
Well, no, it's the whole Cuban Missile Crisis. That was almost the end of the world. We almost started a nuclear war.
Right.
It was very close. It was really close. People don't want to remember that, or if they don't remember it, they're not taught it in school. They don't teach this stuff. They really don't.
Nobody knows about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Most people don't. If you ask, look, let me tell you something. We should do, you said we can do live remotes, right?
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if we put together like a list of questions like this, and we went out into like a club, like a bar, anywhere where kids are 21, 22-year-old, college kids.
There's got to be some place
it's like that
over
guy,
by Yukon that has
we could do this. I mean, it'll be hysterical because they don't know anything. The average kid, especially, doesn't know anything. All they know how to do is party, have a good time, and listen to like whatever kind of hip hop rock that there is. This new hip hop.
And they know how to practice the crooked law.
Right, whatever, man. It's just it's all social control on their end too. It's all just like it's like a ritualistic thing, going to college and the dorms and the sororities and all of that, and they take advantage of it. The people that are behind the scenes take advantage of it. After all, you're looking for the job, right? You're the one that's seeking the better education. You're the one that's supposedly seeking the better lot in life by going to these institutions of knowledge that propagandize and really institutionalize you into an indoctrination of leftist ideology. And it's just funny. The people behind this are capitalists. Ultra, super capitalism. It's super capitalists. As Congressman Larry P. McDonald said, they're super capitalists and communists. And the interesting thing is that the super capitalists are they are the only capitalists. It's like what John D. Rockefeller said. Competition is a sin. They want no competition. They can be the capitalists and make all the money. But you and I can't be a capitalist. And we have to buy into this whole socialism program so they can control us through socialism. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. And the children are beginning to embrace all these socialist ideologies, and they don't think, well, listen, meanwhile, I get out of school, I have debt. So I'm already going down the ladder. I got to huge debt, and there's no jobs. And there really is no jobs. The biggest lie is that the economy is improving. The economy has been flatlined. It made some improvement around 2000 and I think it was 13. There was a little bit of a tick. But it's pretty much been a dead flat line. And the Federal Reserve has threatened to raise interest rates, which would indicate growth, like 9 times. They've threatened to do it again in September. Watch. Let's see what happens in September. I bet you the Fed won't do it again. Oh, we didn't expect this or we didn't expect that, because there can't be any growth. There can't be any growth when they're trying to destroy it. Keep that in mind. Okay, when we come back, we're going to get into Zionism and how the Zionists and the Illuminati, okay, are actually creating scapegoats of the Jews and putting the world to hate the Jews. And actually their Hegelian ploy with this works because they're anti-Semitic. You're anti-Semitic if you're against Israel. But are you? Well, when we come back, we'll think about that.
Looking for a game system or games? Or maybe a piece of stressed or unstressed furniture at a reasonable price? Or maybe you're a Kiss fan and you're looking for that perfect memorabilia piece that you've searched all over for, but still haven't found? Well, Second Chance Thrift Shop just might be the place to find your next piece of furniture or Kiss memorabilia piece while supplies last. Second Chance Thrift Shop offers different items from clothes at reasonable prices to electronics and game systems, and games at very low prices. But that's not all they offer. They also offer jewelry and books and other finds at very low prices. So stop on by the Second Chance Thrift Shop located at 523 Main Street in Torrington, Connecticut, across from Walgreens. Come on down and find your hidden treasure today. Are you trying to run hard, deep, and silent at night, but instead you're waking the dead?
Why, yes, honey. I think we terrorized the neighbors enough with our sex noises.
Are you tired of that squeaky, sagging mattress and waking up with back pains? Well, why not spring out of bed today and head down to Mattress Direct of Torrington? They're officially open to the public by appointment only. Save 40 to 70% off the big box retailer price on brand name mattress sets, all made in the USA. Everything is brand new, factory sealed and manufacturer's plastic, and even comes with a warranty. Queen size sets start at $150, with 6 sets under $600. 20-inch thick mattresses with 4-inch thick pillow top set includes gel lumbar support for only $775. Many styles to choose from, including pillow tops, plush Euro tops, firm memory foam, gel beds, and more. Cash, debit, credit welcome as well. No credit check. Financing options within the first 90 days at 0% interest. Just $40 down and take home the bed of your choice today. Delivery available for a nominal fee. Mention you heard this ad on United FM radio and receive an additional $25 off any bed, excluding starter sets. Inventory is limited. First come, first serve basis. Call 762-BEDTIME. That's 762-233-8463 and ask for Jay. He'll be happy to answer all your questions.
Patriot Taxi is glad to be servicing the Torrington area. We are your best call for safe and reliable transportation. Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday nights from 5 p.m. until 3:30 a.m. If the customer yells baboon at the driver, they will receive a 10% off the metered fare. Why drink and drive when you can call for a safe, reliable ride home? Patriot Taxi operates from 4 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday. 24-hour service on Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays due to the limited size of the fleet. First call, first served. Reservations are required from Monday through Saturday mornings. Call for your ride today at 860-869-4111. That's 860-869-4111.
Did you piss off your wife or girlfriend again? Is her birthday or your anniversary coming up? Don't buy her flowers. Instead, drop by my Facebook page at facebook.com beaded jewelry by Mel and look at everything I have to offer, from handmade jewelry at affordable prices to handmade crafts such as key rings for as little as $5 each. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. You can also call me at 860-785-4270 or email me at jewelrybymelissaroy@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to assist you from answering all your questions regarding your order to customizing your order today.
United FM, powered by
1.21 gigawatts. What the hell is a gigawatt?
colorhost.co. Check out colorhost.co for all your streaming and web hosting solutions today.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Hi, this is Keith Much from UnitedFMRadio.com. If you aren't already a fan of us on Facebook, we highly recommend becoming one. The best way for you to interact with us is via our Facebook page, where we encourage likes, comments, and shares. So go there now and give us a like and suggest our page to your friends. Our page is located at Facebook.com/United Radio FM. Again, that's Facebook.com/United Radio FM.
So as Marxist Obama vacations on Martha's Vineyard, chilling out with entitled white billionaires, telling everybody how they have to give up what they have. They can't keep their thermostats at 72. They got to conserve energy, as he flies around screaming global warming, burning 500 gallons a minute. It just drives me nuts. These people are insane, and they've got you mind controlled to believe that they're trying to help. And listen, if you're some mind controlled, dumbed down Democrat, don't worry, I was one too. But there's help. That's right. You can become awake. You can also have the benefit of knowing that you are being shafted by criminals who have hijacked our government and profess their devotion and dedication to helping you. All they're going to help you do, or the only way they'll be helping you, is they're going to help to take more from you while promising you that each dollar you give is going to bring more help to you. And then more money will go away. And more, as they continue to help you. And, sorry. Well, that's okay. That's the clip coming up.
Yeah, I was queuing it.
And we have to understand that there really is an agenda. And if we were to, for example, just look at the actual 10 planks of communism. If you actually look at the 10 planks of communism, and I'm going to pull it up here on Google, unfortunately, we're already, actually all of them are in place, and to one extent or another. And before I make the correlation between Illuminism and communism, we have to understand that Zionism, communism, fascism, Illuminism are all one and the same. Because the Palestinian people, if you've ever seen, they're treated in Israel by the government not unlike the Nazis treated the Jews. And this is just a truth. But it gets no play, and you're an anti-Semite if you say it. Because they've mind-controlled everyone to believe that Zionism is Judaism. And it is not. It is a political ideology not unlike communism, not unlike fascism. It is Illuminism, the illumined ones, all of these secret societies, the highest levels of Freemasonry. In Israel, there is, this will all be going over in the presentation that'll continue in just a minute. But I just wanted to first talk about these 10 planks of communism, because, Keith, I don't think you're even aware that most of these things are already happening. And here how
they're happening. Listen, you're wrong. I see it. See, we have two different. You're focused on on a global scale with the big business, with the money. I am focused on the social waves that are rippling through people nowadays.
Well, no, that's true.
And I see it. I see what you're talking about.
There's a reason for it. Yeah.
I see it on a smaller level socially going on with people, where people are slowly being desensitized.
Yes, because they're putting these 10 planks of communism into place, and you have to accept them.
But it's also happening on a social level. What you're talking about is a very large level with government and stuff like that, but it's also occurring on a very social level. Like person to person.
Absolutely, no, it's all part of it, but it's all manipulated through the mass media. That's the
how come we're not like? Are we blessed because we're awake?
Well, that's what I just started this segment with that.
I feel like I've walked into a town. I feel like I've walked into a town where everybody's sleeping.
Well, here's what it is. The truth of the matter is that, yes, those of us who are awake, those of us that know that there really is... See, most of us realize that there's something wrong. We know there's something wrong. We can feel it. We could sense it. We could see it in the news.
Just like the guy in the Matrix movie.
But that's the whole point. The Matrix is the New World Order. That is an exact...
What was his name? Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson was awake and searching for what was going on, and he was mentally active more than what other people were. He had his rabbit ears were up. Everyone's rabbit ears. Everyone's senses have been like disconnected and desensitized and dumbed down.
Well, listen, this is why we have to understand how this is working out. Like, again, Nixon opened the doors. Nixon and Rockefeller.
Oh, wait. Nixon? The one that got his head blown off?
No. Nixon? Come on. What kind of history? What did you get learn history?
No.
That's Kennedy.
Kennedy got his head shot off because he was trying to do the right thing.
No, you're right. Because he usurped the Federal Reserve. He was planning on destroying the CIA. Absolutely, no question about it. Because this is the same. These are the same people that we're talking about that are behind these organizations that are pulling the strings. Now, the 10 planks of communism are happening as we speak. The abolition of private property and the application of all rents of land to public purpose. That is the #1 plank of communism. And Americans do these things with actions such as the 14th Amendment and various zoning and school and property taxes. This is what they do. If you don't pay your taxes, eventually you lose your property. The Bureau of Land Management, zoning laws are the first step to government property ownership. That's the simplest thing. This should be done. And it has been done. And the 14th Amendment of the Constitution in 1868 was the beginning of this. Now, the Communist Manifesto was implemented in 1848. Interesting, right? A heavy progressive or graduated income tax. Well, Americans know this is a misapplication of the 16th Amendment, 1913, the Social Security Act of 1936, and the Joint House Resolution of 1933. Various state income taxes. We call it paying your fair share. Isn't that true? But income tax is against the Constitution. But that's #2 on the list. Number 3.
Trump is on the air.
Oh, okay. Donald Trump.
I'm sorry. When I see him on TV, I'm like, uh-oh, here we go.
I don't know what it means. I don't know what to think about Donald Trump. Honestly, Donald Trump is either the biggest.
I am
shill.
honestly thinking about patching that audio over.
Well, Donald Trump is actually the biggest shill or the best hope for this country. That's the only thing I could say. Yeah, patch it through. That's okay. I could continue talking about abolition of property rights. Confiscation of property of all immigrants and rebels. They call it government seizures, tax liens, public laws, executive orders 11490. There's a whole bunch of them. It's already happening. Centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank. That's a central bank. That's the Federal Reserve Crime Syndicate with state capital and exclusive monopolies. That's right. The centralization of the means of communication. #6. And transportation. Well, Americans call that the Federal Communications Commission and the Federal Department of Transportation. All of these alphabet soups are the centralization of all of these things. #7, extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state. Boy, we had Government Motors. Remember GM, Government Motors, for a while? That was a precedent. And it opened the doors to future collectivization by the state. the bringing into cultivation of wastelands and the improvement of soil, generally in accordance with a common plan. Well, this is Agenda 21. Americans call it corporate capacity. The Desert Entry Act, the Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce and Labor, Department of Interior, all of these, and the IRS, of course, the Illuminati Revenue Service. Number 8, equal liability of all to labor. Establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. Now, Americans call it minimum wage and slave labor, like dealing with our most favored trade nation partners, Communist China, Mexico. We see it in the practice of the Social Security Administration and the Department of Labor. National debt and inflation caused by the communal bank has caused the need for a 2-income family. Has it not? They had to sell the people on that. That's why you had, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, right? That lady, yep. Because they had to get the women out there because, first of all, they wanted to tax them, and because of the deflation of the currency, from the Criminal Federal Reserve Crime Syndicate, you needed the money to survive. They're making it harder and harder to survive every year, every day. 40%. Our energy cost is going to go up next year. 40% for electricity. So if you're paying $200 a month, you're going to pay $280 a month. How's that? Do you like it? It's coming. It's coming. And there's no stopping it at this point. And are any of these criminals going to stop it? Is Donald Trump going to stop it? I don't know. I don't trust any of these politicians. Most of them have gotten to this positions of power that they're in because they are part of this cabal. If they really truly buck the establishment enough, they get killed.
I've had great relationships over the years, and you can see that. I've had great relationships with people over the years. I think even better. I'm doing well. I'm leading in every poll, the little ones, the big ones. I'm leading, so importantly to me, I'm leading in Iowa, because when people look at Scott Walker, his state has a $2.2 billion deficit. He thought, he was telling people, it's terrible in terms of the state. And there's tremendous dissension all over the state. But they said they were going to have a big surplus of $1 billion. Well, the $1 billion surplus is a $2.2 billion deficit.
What a shock.
Nobody was willing to say it but me.
I'm trying to get the audio.
No, it's good. I like it. Keep it going.
Until he attacked me. Then I said, thank you very much. Then I said,
he is talking the truth.
I'll get along great with foreigners. I get along great with them right now. I'm all over the world. Building in China.
Just leave it, man. Get it straight.
I will have great. Why? Do you think they're getting good right now? Putin can't stand Obama. Nobody. Who in?
I have a bad table.
Obama.
Yeah.
He's not getting along with anybody.
This is great.
And I've said it. Hillary Clinton was the single worst Secretary of State
Absolutely.
in the history of this country.
No question.
The world collapsed around us.
She made
while
it
she was
collapse
Secretary
there.
of State. Now,
Donald, it was her fault.
In my opinion,
that's why
Kerry might be worse.
Kerry's
he's
a
making
skull
deal
and
with
boners.
Iran
Of course he's worse.
That is so bad and so dangerous and so incompetent and stupid.
It's not incompetent and stupid. It's brilliant and it's in its deception. Of course it will. Yes, it will. I hope you are truly Jude, if this guy is legit, he's got my vote. If he's truly legit.
Very, very forceful.
But it's scary.
Let me just tell you
the
this.
system is rigged.
Israel was sold out by Kerry and Obama. You cannot let Iran.
Well, Israel, there we go. There's the answer right there. We got to talk about Israel in a little bit.
Death to the United. You can't let it happen. It will not happen. Believe me, it will not happen here.
Mr. Trump, you're self-funding your own campaign.
Yes.
Man, have you set a budget for this endeavor?
It's irrelevant. Well, you said $400 million a year, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, you tell her.
What I want to do is I want to make the country great. That's all I want to do. That's much
I
more
believe
important.
him.
My business has
my
been
my
so
heart
successful.
believes him. I want to believe
my
him.
Executives will run that easily. I won't even think about it. I won't even care about it. My sole focus will be taking that brain that built a great business with some of the great assets of the world. I have some of the great assets, Turnberry in Scotland, Doral in Miami. I have some of the greatest assets in the world. Best locations in Manhattan. Trump Tower, 57th and 5th. That's what I do. That whole, whatever it is, whatever kind of a brain that is, will be used to making our country rich again.
God bless you if it's true, man.
Making our country rich and then making it great. We can't make it great unless we make it rich. We have to bring back the money.
Agreed.
We're a debtor nation. We owe $19 trillion. So my whole focus will be this country and making it great.
Hey, man.
Donald Trump from earlier today at the Iowa State Fair.
You know, he could do it because he's got the recognition. He's like a pop culture guy, you know.
Register soapbox.
That was the end of that, man. You can kill it. You can kill it.
I don't know why the audio is all screwy.
I don't want to hear this guy. All right, forget about this guy. Anyway,
Who's this guy?
Who the hell knows? Some.
Everybody said that this campaign was a joke. Who believes?
Yeah, they're making.
The American people are prepared to take on the economic and political establishment of America.
Is that Bernie Sanders?
And 3.5 months have gone by. We have had huge crowds all over America.
Sounds like
in
Bernie
Iowa,
Sanders.
New Hampshire, California,
It is.
Oregon, you name it. And when people ask me why, what I tell them is the American people are saying enough is enough. This country belongs to all of us, not just a handful of billionaires.
Oh.
Well, listen, you know.
Whoa.
The truth is,
They're going to shoot him.
Where's Obama? Obama's with the billionaires, the white billionaires, right now.
To some institution, it's called Social Security, 80 years old. And let me be very clear. Virtually all of the Republican candidates in one form or another want to cut Social Security.
Oh, come on. All right, turn this guy off already. This bullshit already. He's going into this whole crap. What we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what Trump said. We need to build us back to where we were. But this time, we have all of the... Look, we need a new industrial revolution, or whatever we want to call it. It needs to happen. It needs to not be stifled like it's being stifled now. We need to, everybody who wants to be able to start a job, it shouldn't have to pay a penny to create a business or whatever. They shouldn't have to do anything. Just do it. Their own capital, whatever it is, but no fees, no licenses, no all of these regulations, no zoning crap. Get back to the basics here and allow our country to do what it did. And now with all the technology we have, to do what it did wouldn't take long, just like Trump's saying. I actually got to say, if he's on the level, and again, I don't trust these people as long as I could throw them, and I can't throw them too far. But Trump, out of all of them, considering that he flipped, he might have woke up too. You know, we don't talk about waking up with these people, but hey, man, listen. In 2007, I was a fucking socialist and didn't even know it. I was a left-wing fucking Bernie Sandersite. I was a drone because my father was a socialist. I didn't even realize it. My father had books after he passed away. I'm going through his books. He had books on Eugene Debs and stuff. You know, wow, holy shit. But I realize now why I felt that way. And then I came to my own understanding as to that, wow, you know, then I voted for Obama in 2008. I did. And slowly I started to say, well, listen, everything he's saying was a lie. Like all the, you know, they're talking about the Republicans lying, but he's lying. Then I did some research and I started realizing, wait a minute, the Republicans are owned by the same forces that own the Democrats, and they're just causing conflict. And for whoever gets to the top of the hill gets paid. That's basically what it is. Top of the hill. That's the game. Whoever gets control of the top of the hill, they get to like pull some strings, but they have to move the agenda forward. Because if they don't and they buck, they wouldn't get there in the first place. So if Trump does become the candidate, I don't know. If history proves the way it's been up to now, that he would do the same thing and bring us even worse, because that's what they're working on. Or they'd kill him, or he would die, like, you know, he'd have a heart attack or something. If he's legit. Because they don't. Once they've chosen you, you go to the Bilderberg meeting. They've chosen you, and you know, if Trump attends Bilderberg, we know this whole thing is a sham. It's that simple. If he was at Bilderberg, we know this is a sham. Because there'll be another Bilderberg meeting. That's the one where they make the choice. In June, next June, July, early June or late June or early July. That's when they choose. Hillary Clinton. They all of them, Obama and Clinton, both went to Bilderberg, and they shut out the press, put the press on a plane, closed the door, and got them up in the air, and they weren't there. This is history. These communists are working hard, and if anything, like Trump or anyone else could do some good. I mean, I pray, but I know the way the system works. I mean, he's not going to be able to do the things he wants to do. Unless he's got some really, I mean, he's got a lot of money. And if he really does know about the New World Order, he might have woke up like I did. And he might say to himself, all right, fuck these guys. Because he could surround himself with the best security that there is. Fuck the Secret Service. And honestly, if I was Trump, that's what I would do. I would protect myself with my own Secret Service.
Disgrace of outrageously high student debt.
Yeah, let's wipe away the student debt. I'm all for that.
I'm sorry. It seems
It's
like
funny.
when this guy gets talking, you're like, it's like a rap battle. He says blah blah blah, and you're like ha ha ha.
Well, it is because it's hysterical because I've been there.
At 2 or 3% today, you should not be paying 8 or 10% on student debt.
He's right. No. Listen, let's just go get through this one thing. The guy's got his heart in the right place. Don't get me wrong, but I understand that the system doesn't work. I've done the research. It just doesn't work, and it leads to totalitarianism. The money never gets to the people it's intended to, and it leads to an oligopoly, or you want to call it a kleptocracy, whatever you want to call it. But it becomes a relationship between government and business because. Let's face it, man. This guy's going to say the same things. If he really tries to get it done right and he got in, he's not going to get in. But if he did, they'd shoot him. They'd kill him. Anybody that really bucks the system, they're going to kill him. Now, there's this big myth going out there that, like, when the president becomes a president, the first thing they do is they put him in a room downstairs and they show him a video of the president of Kennedy's assassination. And they say nothing. I don't know if that's true. It sounds like hearsay to me. Could be bullshit. But history has proven that the last president to go against the cartel, the Federal Reserve Crime Syndicate and its owners and the others behind all of these socialist forces, these Illuminati insiders, has ended up in a box. Lincoln did it too. Lincoln. We don't go back that far because people probably don't even know. You ask the average person. I was saying this about this again, Keith. It's funny. We go out there, like I said, go to a college campus and start saying, like, let's talk about these things. Do you know what the Federal Reserve is? I made a video called Prescription for America, Take the Red Pill. And I went down to Washington, D.C., and I went to the Federal Reserve, and I did. It's like a 3-hour documentary I made. It's got a lot of information. You could find that on Truth Talk News. You can
we're going to move on to your presentation?
Yeah, pretty soon. But, yeah, this other thing was just happening. And when I was down there, I asked people about Federal Reserve. They didn't even know what the Federal Reserve was. That's how disconnected the average American is to their government. And that's a dangerous thing. And these Zionists have created the Federal Reserve to destroy us. Now, again, I'm not a racist. In fact, my father was Jewish, my mother was Catholic, so I'm half Jewish, right? So Jesus was a Jew, all right? So we're all Jewish if you're a Christian, all right? Let's just face that reality. That we got to stop this whole labeling and accusations of hatred, because that's how they divide the people. That's Rules for Radicals, number 1. Read the book Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. To get that. By the way, Saul Alinsky dedicated his book to the #1 rebel. Do you know that? You know who the very first rebel was?
No.
Lucifer. He dedicated his book to Lucifer.
That's the devil.
Yes.
Oh, that was God's first fallen angel.
Well, he was the first radical, and that's who he who he basically dedicated his book to.
A radical.
Rules for Radicals, the book dedicated to Lucifer. And you can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. It is true. Check it out, and you'll see what I mean. All right, we're going to get into this very, very important. Please stay tuned. We're going into overdrive here, or overtime, whatever you want to call it. And it's worth every minute. This information is critical. You all have to check out Truth Talk News on YouTube. Share the channel. Share this broadcast. Check out howardnema.com and tune in every Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. at least. I know we were a little late today. Sorry about that.
And Saturdays is Truth Talk News is new time.
Yeah, the new time is Saturdays, 1 to 3 p.m. here on UnitedFMRadio.com.
And I'm going to go ahead and play the clip here. Zionists are anti-Semites.
That's right.
In doing my research, complicated deceptions that we're subjected to on a daily basis, I came across a guy by the name of Benjamin Friedman. Now, if you go to Wikipedia or you Google Benjamin Friedman, Benjamin H. Friedman, F-R-E-E-D-M-A-N, you come across the very first sentence on Wikipedia, Benjamin Harrison Friedman, 1890 through May 1984, was an American businessman, and then right there, Holocaust denier with links to it, and vocal anti-Zionist, which he was an anti-Zionist, but he didn't deny the Holocaust. He just explained how it happened in reality, which is exactly corresponding to my research as to what's gone on here, beginning with the Balfour Declaration and the creation of the State of Israel as a Zionist. The Zionism is a political ideology. It is not the Jews, but they use the Jews to create anti-Semitism, because if you go against Israel, you're an anti-Semite. You know, you're a Jew hater. The State of Israel was created by these Zionists. And it so happens that these Zionists, some of them, are Jews, but they really are not, because they worship the mystery religions of Babylon. They're actually the false Jews of the Christian Bible. In the New Testament, you can refer to Revelation 2:9, which says, "Beware the false Jews. They say they are Jews, but they are not. They are of the synagogue of Satan." And they are. And these are the people that we're fighting against. And they've infiltrated all aspects of our society, including religion. And it's interesting because I'm going to play some critical excerpts here and critical pieces of a speech by, actually, maybe I'll just play the whole thing in its entirety. A speech given in 1961 by Benjamin Friedman. It's also widely available on the internet. But the thing that gets me, and this is the proof, he's actually describing why they call him a Holocaust denier and an anti-Semite. Actually, they don't call him an anti-Semite, at least not in the Wikipedia per se. It says that he was he was a rich person. They said that he backed the Arabs and that he sued the American Jewish Committee for libel, and the case was thrown out of court in a month. That doesn't surprise me, because it is libel. They went after him because he was exposing the truth about the Zionists. Now, he worked in the Wilson administration. He saw the inner workings of the New World Order as it was coming to fruition with the creation of the Federal Reserve and the progressive tax system and the communism. It's really interesting. This I was blown away by the importance. I couldn't believe everything I'm hearing in this speech is exactly what it codified my research. It added I shouldn't say that. It cemented the truth, and it's there. It totally justified all of my research and came to the same conclusions that I've come to. These Khazarian Jews are not really Jews at all. They're Satanists, whatever you want to call them. Pagans, call them whatever you like. But they're also the same orders. These are secret societies, the orders are all of the same. That's why Obama's not helping the situation with radical Islam, because they've created it. It's part of the plan. It's part of how they're going to continue this order. Now, going over the fact that Germany was literally destroyed so that these criminal banksters could basically buy up all of these corporations in Germany for pennies on the dollar because their dollar was worthless. They're setting up the same ploy today. And he exposes this. And then the same thing about the beginnings of the Jews. The Jews really weren't treated badly in Germany until after Hitler came. He drummed up all of the propaganda and created and used the book by Bernays and all of these people that are all the same insiders. Zionists, for lack of a better word, if you want to call it, those that were intent, and their whole purpose of doing this, those at the top, was to create the state of Israel. Okay? To continue having all of this conflict that continues to this day, and was, of course, happening in 1961. After all, have you ever thought of the fact that socialism and communism are basically the same thing? Socialism leads to communism. This isn't rocket science. I'm not making it up either. It's the truth. And what was Hitler? Well, Hitler was a member of the Brotherhood of Death. The Thule Society, or the Thule Society, or the Thule Society, however you want to call it, is the same secret society as the Skull and Bones. The Skull and Bones at Yale, founded by the Russell Trust, William Huntington Russell, in 1832. Okay? Now, it's the same order. They're both German orders, by the way. But let's forget about that for a moment. I shouldn't say forget about it. Put it to the side and think about this. What is in the word Ashkenazi? It says Nazi, right? Nazis. That's what they called them. But how did National Socialism, which is the National Socialist Party in Germany, that was Hitler's party, become the Nazis? Because they were, again, of the mystery religions, the false Jews. They don't really worship Judaism at all, or anything other than the mystery, the gods of the mystery schools. It's just the way it is, ladies and gentlemen. But you must research this information. It's true. Absolutely, 100%. I stake my life on it. My research has found this to be 100% true, and this is another piece to the puzzle. And it's an enormous puzzle. It's like a spider web of evil that moves far and wide. But it all meets in the middle somehow. Like those 147 companies that control, actually they own and control the multi-major companies that we do business with every day. Look that up too. 147 companies control all the rest of them. Look it up. And they're mostly central banks and elitist families. So when I speak of the New World Order, I know what I'm talking about. I've done the research. I've taken the time. And it's not much time. I mean, how many hours a day do you waste time on television, watching them, letting them mind control you? They're mind controlling you as you watch yourself. They're giving you. You think that you're so intelligent that you can make your own decisions, but you really truly are influenced by what you see and hear every day. And they use that, like they use the Jews as a scapegoat. Illuminati, the Zionists, the composers of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is a true document and real, and it's happened. That's why people have to wake up, because it really is happening. Read these documents. They just call them anti-Semitic. You never looked at it. Let me tell you, my father was Jewish, okay? All right, my mother was Catholic, okay? Jesus Christ is my Savior. That's my viewpoint on the whole world. But I am a Jew like Jesus was a Jew. Let's be real. The elite created another religion that they can control, and it became the Vatican, which is the power and wealth of the Roman Empire that has been hidden away, the de Medicis and such, and black nobility. But I've done the work to research this and find all this to be true, and I challenge you to prove me wrong. You can't. That's why this information is very dangerous to the enemy. But the only way that you can fight the enemy is to know the enemy. And to know the enemy, you must do the work, find your own truth, seek, and you'll find it. And then in 1962, we could talk about the Prime Minister of Israel, the first Prime Minister of Israel, who gave an interview to Look magazine, which said exactly that there's a world government they're working for to be created and come out of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the headquarters or the capital of this government, and all of that the United States will become a social welfare state. And these things are occurring. It's happening to us, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this 1962 Look magazine article can be found in its entirety at howardnema.com. The article is called First Israeli Prime Minister Predicts U.S. Welfare State in 1962. That's what I titled the article. And here it is in its entirety. January 4th, 1962. Ben-Gurion foresees gradual democratization of the Soviet Union. Quote, gradual democratization of the Soviet Union and the abolition of wars by 1987 is predicted by Israeli Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion in a statement published in the current issue of Look magazine, which carries a number of interviews on the world's outlook 25 years from now. Mr. Ben-Gurion's statement reads, the image of the world in 1987 is traced in my imagination. The Cold War will be a thing of the past. Pretty close. Quote-unquote 1989, the fall of communism. The fall of the Berlin Wall was one of the greatest frauds in American history, in world history. Communism didn't die. We didn't defeat communism. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming that it just went black, like CIA's MKUltra operations and many other black operations against we the people. So the Cold War will be a thing of the past. Continuing with the article. Internal pressure of the constantly growing intelligentsia in Russia for more freedom and the pressure of the masses for raising their living standards may lead to a gradual democratization of the Soviet Union. On the other hand, the increasing influence of the workers and farmers and the rising political importance of men of science may transform the United States into a welfare state with a planned economy. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we have right now. We have Apple going through the roof with technology, science of all kinds. They're genetically modifying food, living organisms, transhumanism, integrating bionics to people that have lost limbs. I mean, it all sounds wonderful, you know. It's all great on the cover, on the surface. It's beautiful, but the devil is in the details, and the veneer is below this veneer is really a treacherous plot. Now, the Western and Eastern Europe will become a federation of autonomous states. Does that sound familiar? The EU. Having a socialistic and democratic regime. Well, that is the EU, with the exception of the USSR as a federated Eurasian state, and all other continents will become united in a world alliance, at whose disposal will be an international police force. We already have all of this, growing, and they're already trying to take away the rights of the American people, our gun rights, for this under this United Nations gun treaty. Small arms treaty, and it's a slow process, like the gradual democratization of the Soviet Union that Ben-Gurion refers to in 1962. All armies will be abolished, and there will be no more wars. There'll just be a police state, So if you start rabble-rousing, we bring in the world police force, the international police force, to shut you down, to quiet your voice. In Jerusalem, the United Nations, a truly United Nations, will build a shrine of the prophets to serve the federated union of all continents. This will be the seat of the Supreme Court of mankind to settle all controversies among the federated continents as prophesied by Isaiah. Higher education will be the right of every person in the world. Well, that's indoctrination. They want to make sure that you're going to be, and this is all happening and unfolding, and many of these things have already occurred, as you can see. Higher education will be the right of every person in the world. Boy, they're shooting for that. Let's make it free for everyone. College costs, after all, are going up 7% a year because that's just another racket. Just another racket. You should check out a couple of films on that, a couple of books and documentaries too. The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America by Charlotte Iserby, who was education secretary under Reagan, who brought this information that they're indoctrinating, putting a Soviet-style indoctrination in the school curriculum, to Reagan's attention. And guess what? He fired her. Because they are. And you can't protest, conform, or be cast out in the New World Order. So, he also said, Ben-Gurion, that a pill to prevent pregnancy will slow down the explosive natural increase in China and India, and by 1987 the average lifespan of man will reach 100 years. Well, truly, ladies and gentlemen, that is possible to reach 100 years, but the big pharma, medical mafia, cancer industry, cancer cartel, and all of these expensive drugs that come out every week with people hugging puppies and blowing bubbles as they talk about side effects like cancer, sudden death, and heart disease, heart attacks, and stroke. But these drugs are safe and approved by the FDA. Meanwhile, we have billions of dollars in lawsuits that are settled every year, and the lawyers love the racket because it's just beautiful. But if you made hundreds of billions of dollars and you only had to pay, $1 or $2 or $10 billion as an industry, it's a cost of doing business. So it's okay to continue to cause harm to the general public while you're claiming to be helping them. Properly prescribed and administered pharmaceutical drugs kill over 140,000 Americans alone every year. Just seeking medical treatment for whatever ails you, if you go to this allopathic system, kills 440,000 people in the United States each year. It's the truth. These numbers they don't lie. Medical treatment is the number 3 killer in the United States. And when you bring this to their attention, well, what do you want? Then the answer would be, well, you don't want health care? You see, they spin everything instead of holding themselves accountable. And then they complain about healthcare costs being so high because of the insurance. Well, if you didn't put poisonous drugs out on the market to profit by, you wouldn't have these high costs for malpractice insurance. In some countries, there's no malpractice insurance. You can't even sue the doctors. And their quality of care is actually better. The big lie is that America has the best health care. That's crazy. We have the best technology and one of the worst healthcare systems in the world. The VA can prove this. And now Obamacare is bringing us down that same road. Isn't that true? So, this article was very significant because many of these things have come to pass, and they do wish to rule this world from Jerusalem, the Shrine of the Prophets. And if you go there, there's a tremendous Masonic temple right there. And the Knesset has these degrees of Freemasonry. As you climb up the structure, you're bringing around each different degree of enlightenment under their Luciferian doctrine. These are, again, false Jews. These aren't the Jews, and they use this. They're Zionists. They are Luciferian, many of them. Literally worship Satan, worship the light bearer. They're Freemasons. And they all worship these Baal and Moloch and sacrifice to these gods. I know this sounds incredibly hard to believe, but this is where all the children go missing go. This is where there's so much pedophilia in the Catholic Church that's been caught. These are all rituals required for these ancient sacrifices. You must study the ancient mystery religion of Babylon to understand this. Now you can go to, I've set up well, there's, of course, you can get all this information. Everything that I speak about is verifiable and true. You do have to do a little work before you just parrot it. I don't want you to just share this information, even if you think that it's startling and important, until you can understand that it really is true. That's not my point here, to just spew out information and have people, there's enough disinformation agents out there twisting people's words and twisting the truth to suit their agenda or to make them look better than they really are, or to hide their crimes. Okay? So you have to really do some research. But this is important. This is just for folks that I'm trying to reach, is that the ones I'm trying to reach are the people that have no idea about this, didn't even think about this, or worse, have just neglected it because it's been told to them that it's just a conspiracy theory and these are crazy lunatic tinfoil hat people. We're not. It's all true. And they're working for this, and it's not good for humanity. They will control every aspect of our lives. They're already doing it. Look at the regulations. And then the EPA, they're trying to regulate something. They cause an ecological disaster. I mean, these industries that cause the way that we need to regulate these industries is by having rational, logical, simplified systems of tracking the safety of our food, of our water, and of our natural resources. Not this big behemoth thing, not the FDA shutting down milk farms and raw milk farms and natural homeopathic remedy stores, and all of this because of the big pharma and Monsanto medical mafia. Because if you don't play with the big boys, you're an enemy. And as John D. Rockefeller said, and it's the moniker of this evil organization, is competition is a sin. And there will be no awakening to the fact that pharmaceutical drugs, for the most part, do more harm than good. There are 250 proper, excellent, wonderful pharmaceutical drugs that all of these other drugs have been either piggybacked off of or created to make it a better drug or have better results. That's what they go for. And in every single case, they cause horrible side effects. Where these other drugs, this listing, it includes many drugs that we would normally use but not abuse. None of the new stuff, all this stuff that's come out, with the exception of several drugs that with some of the asthma medications and others, but still a lot of them have long-term side effects, and they also cause other illnesses, which is designed. It's not an accident. These people are so brilliant in their Machiavellian deceptions to make money that they have figured it all out. They don't just want to control, they don't just want to make a lot of money. They want to control the industries that they're a part of. And this secret society of the adepts of the secrets of the ages, these illumined ones. See, Illuminati is just thrown out there. The Illuminati, the Illuminati, the Illuminati. If you don't really know what that is, it's just no wonder most people just think it's a conspiracy theory. What it is a group of hundreds, if not thousands, of smaller secret societies. The Freemasons, there's many orders in the Freemasonry, all those different lodges as an example, but that's one thing, Freemasonry. So imagine the way Freemasonry is set up with all the lodges on a larger scale with many more societies like the Order of the Quest, and though there's many of them, many of them. Again, going back to my website, you really do need to research all of this information, and I have links to all of these documents and to all of the broadcasts of William Cooper, who did a 43-hour dissertation. This is an amazing, incredible work that I have verified and found to be true. It's just such a deep rabbit hole. It's hard for folks to wrap their brain around it, and that's what they count on. They count that you're not going to take the time, that you're too busy You know, you are going to be busy. You have to make a living. Everyone has to do things. But think of that recreation time that you're using wastefully, where you can actually really enlighten yourself and understand why things are so inflammatory in the world. I mean, you can't say anything that hurts someone else's feelings, and you're a racist if you disagree with a black person, or if you call looters thugs or whatever, you know, you're a racist. They're creating all of this. They're stirring the pot. They are stirring the pot. Big time. Big time. Financial system is a joke. But nobody really knows or pays attention to it. Oh, the stock market goes up 200 points, it goes down 200 points. It's volatile, it's overinflated. They're inflating it falsely with money. And what they do, and they've done this over and over again, is they will exit out, drop the market prices to very, very low levels, blow the bubble, and then buy up everything because they have all the money at low, cheap prices. This is what they did after World War I, and this is included in the speech given by Benjamin Friedman. And this is a good little segue into that speech. But there's still a lot more to cover here. Benjamin Friedman. Now, they call him an apostate Jew. And, you know, you'd say, wow, this guy must be really bad. You know, he wrote books, League for Peace with Justice in Palestine, because Palestine was stolen from the people there, too. It's the same thing. England had no right to grant it to the Jews in the first place as a place for the Jewish homeland. The whole thing was a propaganda campaign, and Lord Rothschild, by the way, was the one who created the Balfour Declaration. I mean, this is the whole point. He was the one behind it. He's the one that got them to do it. Okay? Are we getting close to understanding what's going on here? I hope so. Now, there's a lot more. I mean, a lot more. So he discusses the fact that he calls them Jews, but they're not Jews, and he says it in the speech. They're not. They're really just. They're the false Jews, or they use Judaism to their effect to help them. And many of them are not Jews. For example, these internationalists, you know, like Bill Clinton and the Clinton cartel. They're Zionists too. Supporting the state of Israel is such a deception. It's not the Jewish people. They've been used again. They're again scapegoated. They're saying it's anti-Semitism because the Jews. Well, the Illuminati, which is the Zionists, are illumined. They are the illumined ones, the ones that are keepers of these secrets of the universe and the secrets of the ages that have moved along through the secret societies like the Order of the Quest and Skull and Bones. All of these secret societies are all working for this one world government. And the head of it is going to be in Israel, what is now Israel, and the state. And their idea is to build it out, and it will come from Jerusalem. This is what they're working for, and these are the people behind it. Now, again, they go this whole thing where, you know, now looking at what has happened in the world. Was Senator McCarthy so wrong? Are we being wise here? Because these are all people that he's related. He gets pushed into the mix with Gerald K. Smith and Wesley Swift and Congressman John Rankin and Joseph McCarthy. All these people that are so bad because he was against, they call him a Jew baiter or whatever, Jew baiting cabal of John Rankin, the Jew baiting cabal. So they really have a big hit piece on this guy. But then what's really interesting, this is again Wikipedia, okay? What's really interesting and cannot be dismissed is the fact that if you go to quotes, easy quotes, Benjamin quote. Now, in general, you'll get, like, you put in Louis Farrakhan and you'll get some unbelievable stuff, right? But look what you get here. You get quotes like, let me show you what happened while we were all asleep. This is what the anti-Semite Holocaust denier, he never denied the Holocaust. He just explained how it really happened, just like he explained how World War I happens in this very speech, which is about 40 minutes long, and you must listen to it. This is the most important information because you can get a better perspective as to why things are the way they are today and how they're going to continue. I keep talking about it all the time. They're going to go after Iran. They're going to go after Cuba. Cuba's done. Cuba will be taken care of. When the Rothschilds set up the Cuban bank, I'll report it immediately for all of you to know. But it's coming, and it's coming quick. And, you know, what we have here are quotes. Let me get back to the quote. Let me show you what happened while we were all asleep. Now, people are asleep. I'm trying to wake them up. And Benjamin Friedman said that during his speech that I'm going to play a clip from in 1961. That's what's on IZ quotes, or is quotes. So there's no actual anti-Semitic, anti-Jew thing here. How much can you depend on their loyalty? You can depend on their loyalty as much as the Germans depended upon it in 1916. And we're going to suffer the same fate as Germany suffered, and for the same reason. His opinion on the loyalty of Zionists to the United States. Well, we know the Zionists are not loyal to the United States. History has proven this. History has proven this. So the only real quotes that they have here on this guy is this tape that I'm going to play for you, which is truth. Incredible truth. Important truth. Important truth. You know? Refuting modern-day anti-Semitism, the myth that the Jews are Khazars from 1700 to 1000 who never lived in Palestine. So the Red State puts this article up. Refuting anti-Semitism is a seemingly thankless and daily chore in this age of the internet. The Khazar myth that the Ashkenazi Jews are really converted Khazars from 700 to 1000 AD has been popping up all over recently. A good refutation is nary anywhere, but we look to the same DNA evidence to trace the Ashkenazi genealogical line, blowing the Khazar myth to smithereens. The Khazar anti-Semitism on unit, Khazar conspiracy, seems to have added to the part and become the Khazar supremacy. Oh, so again, this is another hit piece. Alex Jones talks about Jews that are really Khazars. Part 1 has over 37,000 views. I don't really care about Alex Jones. The 6-part YouTube title. So this is all about, you know, they're trying to discredit a reality that is actually occurring. Benjamin Friedman's speech debunked. The whole thing was popularized by Benjamin Friedman at a speech, and Friedman was associated with Henry Morgenthau, and he was. He worked in the Wilson administration, President Wilson, and when they created the Federal Reserve Crime Syndicate. He accuses Jews of starting World War I, II, and being the real Khazars or fake Jews. They are. They are! The U.S. entered World War I solely because of influential turncoat Zionist Jews who wanted it and got the Balfour Declaration. That's true! That's what happened. And the same thing, it's true. They're trying to discredit his words. This is stuff like disinformation agents do, where they twist the truth and they lie for their own agenda. And there are a lot of them out there, many of them, putting out false information. That's why you have to make your own decision and come to your own determination. Find your own truth. Do the research. Listen to this video. Watch this, what's coming. And then do some more research on this, because I've been following this for a long time, and it's unbelievable. There is no anti-Semitism. These people were anti-globalists, anti-Zionists, anti-New World Order. There's a difference. But they call everybody an anti-Semite if you go against Israel or if you go against the Zionists. But what about the rabbis that call against it? And I'll play a clip of that too. I'll include that in this video with the rabbis. Here, check out the rabbis.
When they went to Yom Kippur, when the women went to Yom Kippur on the fast day, the Muslim neighbors babysat the children, the most precious objects they gave to them to protect. How could that be if they're our enemies, mortal enemies? Because they're not. It's not a religious conflict. That's a Zionist ploy of accusing everybody of being anti-Semitic. You want peace? You want to have a conference here of peace? Step back and look and read the facts. Not the facts that's been misconstrued by the Zionist propaganda. The facts that are realities. The facts on the ground. How we've been living for hundreds of years in Yemen, in Morocco, in Tunisia, in Palestine, in Egypt. What Arab land have not Jewish people been living together with Muslims without any human rights groups. Tell me what land the Jews did not live in harmony with the Muslims. In Iran, we have over 25,000 Jews there, thank God. Why? Because this is not a religious conflict. It's purely because of a political movement, a relatively new movement, which is
political Zionism,
contradictory to the Jewish religion of thousands of years. Judaism is spirituality, a religion of compassion to emulate God. Zionism has been created 100 years ago by atheists, people who have abhorred religion, who wanted to transform Judaism from religion to nationality, to a purely materialistic base, godless in its essence. That is not Judaism, and they have no right to use the name of Israel.
That is Zionism,
our name,
communism.
Our symbols, and they've stolen our identity, and they are causing death and destruction year in and year out. For over 50 years, death and bloodshed has not stopped because of a pure ideological belief called Zionism. They sacrifice on their idol bodies, human beings, hearts, souls. They rent, they've destructed houses, they've destructed people's lives. What can we do about this? Let's step back and think. There is a solution with God's help. If we would put away the politics, then we could know that we've been living and coexisting together. We most profusely apologize to the Muslims, to the Arabs, what has been done to them. And then we can return and make restitution for what has been done to them. And then we will be able to live in harmony. Not an Israeli state, a one Palestinian state. One state as we have been living for hundreds of years. There will be peace. And you will see that this 50 years has been a nightmare, a mirage, and nothing to do. Pure fear-mongering, that's what Zionism does. It's panic, going into a theater and yelling, fire, fire, that's what Zionists do. We've been living with the Muslims. We've been living, yes, Ahmadinejad keeps on stating that he does not want to harm the Jews, but the Zionists keep on antagonizing them. Of course you don't, because you have an agenda. You want to further Zionism. You want enemies. You want enemies in order to be able to say you're protecting
They want enemies.
We don't want enemies. We want to live in peace. We have been always living in peace with the Muslims, and we will, with God's help, continue to live with enemies. We implore the participants in this conference.
The military-industrial complex wears.
Study the history truthfully and see what the true Jewish voice is of hundreds of thousands of Jews who are still true to their religion, whether they're living in Jerusalem, whether they're living in New York. What do these Jews in Williamsburg section of Brooklyn, hundreds of thousands of Jews who are the most God-fearing in the community, why are they all opposed to the state of Israel? Why is that one Israeli flag in Williamsburg, Brooklyn? These are the most God-fearing religious Jews. Why don't they fly an Israeli flag? They have hospital help. They have Hatzalah, ambulatories, and everything free of charge to help people. The most greatest charitable organizations. Why these compassionate people don't support the state of Israel?
They don't go to Israel.
Why not?
Because they don't like Israel.
Why not? Because they're self-hating Jews?
Trying to build a Jewish state.
Self-hating Jews.
Are they fools? The reason is simply because they fear God. I know why. You don't know why, and I know why. Because they're God-fearing. And God forbid us to have a state. We are in exile by God. We decree exile. And we are forbidden to oppress the people. We are forbidden to oppress the Palestinian people and steal their houses. That is what Judaism says.
You're telling some idiot saying he's nuts. The idiot is such a schmuck.
This is what Judaism says, not what these.
See, that's the problem. The people believe the propaganda.
Now, what do you think about that? Is he a self-hating Jew? This goes in line with the war on women, all these other agendas that they use to control the people. The stupid sheeple, actually. Well, wake up. Time to smell the coffee, ladies and gentlemen. Now, listen to Friedman's speech, and then come to your own conclusions about what's happened since 1961. How things are even more controlled than they were then, and how it might have sounded loony to talk about controlling the media, controlling the banking system, controlling everything else like that, when there were 50 or 60 companies in the media, mass media. But now there are 6. and ask about the propaganda that all of them are pushing on the people. It's completely geared towards Illuminism, which is communism, which is fascism, which is totalitarian socialism. That's all that it is. With a little smile like Obama, you know, a Hollywood shine and a Madison Avenue gleam. That's what you're getting, ladies and gentlemen. It's all an illusion. Time to wake up.
Benjamin H. Friedman was one of the most intriguing and amazing individuals of the 20th century. Mr. Friedman, born in 1890, was a successful Jewish businessman of New York City who was at one time the principal owner of the Woodbury Soap Company. He broke with organized Jewry after World War II and spent the remainder of his life and the great preponderance of his considerable fortune, at least $2.5 million, exposing the Jewish power structure which dominates the United States. Mr. Friedman's testimony is especially important because he had been an insider at the highest levels of Jewish organizations and Jewish machinations to gain power over our nation. Mr. Friedman was personally acquainted with Bernard Baruch, Samuel Untermeyer, Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, Joseph Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, and many more movers and shakers of our times. This speech was given before a patriotic audience in 1961 at the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C., on behalf of Condi McGinley's patriotic newspaper of that time, Common Sense. Though in some minor ways this wide-ranging and extemporaneous speech has become dated, Mr. Friedman's essential message to us, his warning to the West, is more urgent than ever before. Listen.
Here in the United
That is
States,
very true.
the Zionists and their
Listen.
co-religionists have complete control of our government. For many reasons, too many and too complex to go into.
It is not Jews he's speaking of. He's speaking of Zionists. Let's just remember that.
Statement. The Zionists and their co-religionists rule this United States as though they were the absolute monarchs of this country. Now you say, well, that's a very broad statement to make, but let me show what happened while you were, I don't want to wear that out. Let me show you what happened while we were all asleep. I'm including myself with you. We were all asleep. What happened? World War I broke out in the summer of 1914. 1914 was the year in which World War I broke out. There are a few people here my age who remember that. Now that war was waged on one side by Great Britain, France, and Russia, and on the other side by Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey. What happened? Within 2 years, Germany had won that war. Not alone won it nominally, but won it actually. The German submarines, which were a surprise to the world, had swept all the convoys from the Atlantic Ocean, and Great Britain stood there without ammunition for her soldiers, stood there with 1 week's food supply facing her, and after that, starvation. At that time, the French army had mutinied. They lost 600,000 of the flower of the French youth in the defense of Verdun on the Somme. The Russian army was defecting. They were picking up their toys and going home. They didn't want to play war anymore. They didn't like the Tsar. And the Italian army had collapsed. Now, Germany, not a shot had been fired on the German soil. Not an enemy soldier had crossed the border into Germany. And yet, here was Germany offering England peace terms. They offered England a negotiated peace on what the lawyers call a status quo ante basis. That means let's call the war off and let everything be as it was before the war started. Well, England in the summer of 1916 was considering that seriously. They had no choice. It was either accepting this negotiated peace that Germany was magnanimously offering them, or going on with the war and being totally defeated. While that was going on, the Zionists in Germany, who represented the Zionists from Eastern Europe, went to the British War Cabinet, and I'm going to be brief because this is a long story, but I have all the documents to prove any statement that I make if anyone here is curious or doesn't believe what I possible. The Zionists in London went to the British War Cabinet and they said, look here, you can yet win this war. You don't have to give up. You don't have to accept a negotiated peace offered to you now by Germany. You can win this war if the United States will come in as your ally. The United States was not in the war at that time. We were fresh,
Once again,
we were young, we were rich,
it's all about
we
money.
were powerful, and they told England,
We were brought into the war for money.
to bring the United States into the war as your ally, to fight with you on your
To
side,
get Israel.
if you will promise us Palestine after you win the war. In other words, they made this deal. We will get the United States into this war as your ally. The price you must pay us is Palestine after you have won the war and defeated Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey. Now, England had as much right to promise Palestine to anybody as the United States would have to promise Japan to Ireland for any reason whatsoever. It's absolutely absurd that Great Britain, that never had any connection or any interest or any right in what is known as Palestine, should offer it as coin of the realm to pay the Zionists for bringing the United States into the war. However, they made that promise in October of 1916. October 1916. And shortly after that, I don't know how many here remember it, the United States, which was almost totally pro-German, because the newspapers here were controlled by Jews, the bankers were Jews, all the media of mass communications in this country were controlled by Jews, and they were pro-German because their people, in a majority of cases, came from Germany, and they wanted to see Germany lick the Tsar. The Jews didn't like the Tsar, and they didn't want Russia to win this war. So the German bankers, the German Jews, Kuhn Loeb, and the other big banking firms in the United States refused to finance France or England to the extent of $1. They stood aside and they said, as long as France and England are tied up with Russia, not 1 cent. But they poured money into Germany. They fought with Germany against Russia, trying to lick the Tsarist regime. Now, those same Jews, when they saw the possibility of getting Palestine, they went to England and they made this deal. At that time, everything changed, like the traffic light that changes from red to green, where the newspapers had been all pro-German, where they'd been telling the people the difficulties that Germany was having fighting Great Britain commercially and in other respects. All of a sudden, the Germans were no good. They were villains. They were Huns. They were shooting Red Cross nurses. They were cutting off babies' hands, and they were no good. Well, shortly after
That was all bullshit. They did. They put a huge propaganda campaign out there, and Eugene Debs, by the way, was in prison for 10 years for speaking out constitutionally. Now, the socialist, again, he was a socialist, but he was in prison because he spoke against the war.
Now you go to work, and you go to work on President Wilson
Truth.
and get the United States into the war. And that did happen. That's how the United States got into the war. We had no more interest in it. We had no more right to be in it than we have to be on the moon tonight instead of in this room. Now, the war World War I, in which the United States participated, had absolutely no reason to be our war. We went in there, we were railroaded into it. If I can be vulgar, we were suckered into that war merely so that the Zionists of the world could obtain Palestine. Now, that is something that the people in the United States have never been told. They never knew why we went into World War I. Now, what happened? After we got into the war, the Zionists went to Great Britain and they said, well, we performed our part of the agreement. Let's have something in writing that shows that you are going to keep your bargain and give us Palestine after you win the war, because they didn't know whether the war would last another year or another 10 years. So they started to work out a receipt. The receipt took the form of a letter, and it was worded in very cryptic language so that the world at large wouldn't know what it was all about. And that was called the Balfour Declaration. The Balfour Declaration was merely Great Britain's promise to pay the Zionists what they had agreed upon as a consideration for getting the United States into the war. So this great Balfour Declaration that you hear so much about is just as phony as a $3 bill, and I don't think I can make it more emphatic than that. Now, that is where all the trouble started. The United States was in the war. The United States crushed Germany. We went in there, and it's history. You know what happened. Now, when the war was ended, and the Germans went to Paris, to the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, there were 117 Jews there as a delegation representing the Jews, headed by Bernard Baruch. I was there, I ought to know. Now what happened? The Jews at that peace conference, when they were cutting up Germany and parceling out Europe to all these nations that claimed a right to a certain part of European territory, the Jews said, how about Palestine for us? And they produced, for the first time to the knowledge of Germans, this Balfour Declaration. So the Germans, for the first time, realized, oh, that was the game. That's why the United States came into the war. And the Germans, for the first time, realized that they were defeated. They suffered this terrific reparations that was slapped onto them because the Zionists wanted Palestine. And they were determined to get it at any cost. Now that brings us up to another very interesting point. When the Germans realized this, they naturally resented it. Up to that time, the Jews had never been better off in any country in the world than they had been in Germany. You had Mr. Rathenau there, who was maybe 100 times as important in industry and finance as Bernard Baruch in this country. You had Mr. Ballin, who owned the two big steamship lines, the North German Lloyd and the Hamburg American line, thank you. You had Mr. Bleichschroeder, who was the banker for the Hohenzollern family. You had the Warburgs in Hamburg, who were the big merchant bankers, the biggest in the world. The Jews were doing very well in Germany. No question about that. Now, the Germans felt, well, that was quite a sellout. It was a sellout that I can best compare. Suppose the United States was at war today with the Soviet Union. And we were winning. And we told the Soviet Union, well, let's quit. We offer you peace terms. Let's forget the whole thing. And all of a sudden, Red China came into the war as an ally of the Soviet Union. And throwing throwing them into the war brought about our defeat, a crushing defeat, with a reparations the likes of which man's imagination cannot encompass. Imagine, then, if we found out that it was the Chinese in this country, our Chinese citizens, who all the time we thought they were loyal citizens working with us, was selling us out to the Soviet Union, and it was through them that Red China was brought into the war against us. How would we feel in the United States against Chinese? I don't think one of them would dare show his face on any street. There wouldn't be lampposts enough convenient to take care of them. Imagine how we would feel. Well, that's how the Germans felt towards these Jews. We've been so nice to them, and from 1905 on, when the first communist revolution in Russia failed and the Jews had to scramble out of Russia, they all went to Germany, and Germany gave them refuge, and they were treated very nicely. And here, they sold Germany down the river for no reason at all, other than they wanted Palestine as a so-called Jewish commonwealth. Now, Nahum, Sokolow, all the great leaders, the big names that you read about in connection with Zionism today, they, in 1919, 1920, 21, 22, and 23, they wrote in all their papers, and the press was filled with their statements, that the feeling against the Jews in Germany is due to the fact that they realized that this great defeat was brought about by our intercession and bringing the United States into the war against them. The Jews themselves admitted that. It wasn't that the Germans in 1919 discovered that a glass of Jewish blood tasted better than Coca-Cola or Münchner beer. There was no religious feeling. There was no sentiment against those people merely on account of their religious belief. It was all political. It was economic. It was anything but religious. Nobody cared in Germany whether a Jew went home and pulled down the shades and said Shema Yisrael or Our Father. No one cared in Germany any more than they do in the United States. Now, this feeling that developed later in Germany was due to one thing, that the Germans held the Jews responsible for their crushing defeat for no reason at all, because World War I was started against Germany for no reason for which they were responsible. They were guilty of nothing, only of being successful. They built up a big navy. They built up world trade. You must remember, Germany, at the time of Napoleon, at the time of the French Revolution, what was the German Reich consisted of 300 small city-states, principalities, dukedoms, and so forth. 300 little separate political entities. And between that time, between the period of between Napoleon and Bismarck, they were consolidated into one state. And within 50 years after that time, they became one of the world's great powers. Their navy was rivaling Great Britain. They were doing business all over the world. They could undersell anybody and make better products. And what happened? What happened as a result of that? There was a conspiracy between England, France, and Russia that we must slap down Germany, because there isn't one historian in the world that can find a valid reason why those three countries decided to wipe Germany off the map politically. Now, what happened after that? When Germany realized that the Jews were responsible for her defeat, they naturally resented it. But not a hair on the head of any Jew was harmed. Not a single hair. Professor Tanzel of Georgetown University, who had access to all the secret papers of the State Department, wrote in his book and quoted from a State Department document written by Hugh Hugo Schoenfeld, a Jew who Cordell Hull sent to Europe in 1933 to investigate the so-called camps of political prisoners. And he wrote back that he found them in very fine condition. They were in excellent shape. Everybody treated well, and they were filled with communists. Well, a lot of them were Jews, because the Jews happened to be maybe 98% of the communists in Europe at that time. And there were some priests there, and ministers, labor leaders, masons, and others who had international affiliation. Now, the Jews sort of tried to keep the lid on this fact. They didn't want the world to really understand that they had sold out Germany and that the Germans resented that. So they did take appropriate action against them. They, shall I say, discriminated against them wherever they could. They shunned them, the same as we would the Chinese or the Negroes or the Catholics or anyone in this country that sold us out to an enemy and brought about our defeat. Now, after a while, the Jews of the world didn't know what to do, so they called a meeting in Amsterdam. Jews from every country in the world attended in July 1933. And they said to Germany, you fire Hitler and you put every Jew back into his former position, whether he was a communist, no matter what he was. You can't treat us that way. And we, the Jews of the world, are calling upon you and serving this ultimatum upon you. Well, the Germans told them, you can imagine. So what did they do? In 1917, the communists took over Germany for a few days. Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht and a group of Jews in Germany took over the government for 3 days. In fact, when the Kaiser ended the war, he fled to Holland because he thought the communists were going to take over Germany as they did Russia, and that he was going to meet the same fate that the Tsar did in Russia. So he left and went to Holland for safety and for security. Now, at that time, when the communist threat in Germany was quashed, it was quiet, the Jews were working still, trying to get back into their former status, and the Germans fought them in every way they could without hurting a hair on anyone's head. The same as one group, the prohibitionists, fought the people who were interested in liquor, and they didn't fight one another with pistols. They did it every way they could. Well, that's the way they were fighting the Jews in Germany. And at that time, mind you, there were 80 to 90 million Germans, and there were only 460,000 Jews. Less than 1/2 of 1% of the population of Germany were Jews. And yet, they controlled all the press, they controlled most of the economy, because they had come in and with cheap money, you know the way the mark was devalued, they bought up practically everything. Well, in 1933...
This is what they do, ladies and gentlemen. They do that. And that's what they did in 2008. They did it in 1929. And they're going to do it again. Big time.
They broke up, and Mr. Undermeyer came back to the United States, who was the head of the American delegation and the president of the whole conference, and he went from the steamer to ABC and made a radio broadcast throughout the United States in which he said, the Jews of the world now declare a holy war against Germany. We are now engaged in a sacred conflict against the Germans, and we are going to starve them into surrender. We are going to use a worldwide boycott against them that will destroy them because they are dependent upon their export business. And it is a fact that 2/3 of Germany's food supply had to be imported. And it could only be imported with the proceeds of what they exported.
Pretty evil bastards, aren't they?
So if
This is what they're doing with Islam.
2/3 of Germany's population would have to starve. There just was not enough food for more than 1/3 of a population. Now, in this declaration, which I have here, it was printed and paid, a whole page, in the New York Times on August 7th, 1933, Mr. Samuel Untermeyer boldly stated that this economic boycott is our means of self-defense. President Roosevelt has advocated its use in the NRA, which some of you may remember, where everybody was to be boycotted unless they followed the rules laid down by the New Deal.
So everybody in Germany starved. Lots of people.
Nevertheless, the Jews of the world declared a boycott against Germany, and it was so effective that you couldn't find one thing in any store anywhere in the world with the words "Made in Germany" on it. In fact, an executive of the Woolworth Company told me that they had to dump millions of dollars worth of crockery and dishes into the river, that their stores were boycotted. If anyone came in and found a dish marked "Made in Germany," they were picketed with signs, Hitler, murderer, and so forth, and like something like these sit-ins that are taking place in the South. R.H. Macy, which is controlled by a family called Strauss, who also happen to be Jews, a woman found stockings there, which came from Chemnitz, marked "Made in Germany." Well, they were cotton stockings. They may have been there 20 years, because since I've been observing women's legs in the last 20 years, I haven't seen a pair with cotton stockings on them. So Macy, I saw Macy boycotted with hundreds of people walking around with signs, "Murderers" and "Hitlerites" and so forth. Now, up to that time, not one hair of any Jew had been hurt in Germany. There was no suffering, there was no starvation, there was no murder, there was nothing. Now, that, naturally, the Germans said, why, who are these people to declare a boycott against us and throw all our people out of work and our industries come to a standstill? Who are they to do that to us? And they naturally resented it. Certainly they painted swastikas on stores owned by Jews. Why should a German go in and give their money to a storekeeper who is part of a boycott, who is going to starve Germany into surrender into the Jews of the world, who are going to
See, the Jews were made a scapegoat by these false Jews. Starting to get the picture?
Well, it was ridiculous.
I hope so.
That continued
Keep listening.
for some time. And it wasn't until 1938 when a young Jew from Poland walked into the German embassy in Paris and shot one of the officials that the Germans really started to get rough with the Jews in Germany. And you found them then breaking windows and having street fights and so forth. Now, for anyone to say that, I don't like to use the word anti-Semitism because it's meaningless, but it means something to you still, so I'll have to use it. The only reason that there was any feeling in Germany against Jews was that they were responsible, number one, for World War I, number two, for this worldwide boycott, and number three, did I say for World War I, they were responsible for the boycott and also for World War II, because after this thing got out of hand, it was absolutely necessary for the Jews and Germany to lock horns in a war to see which one was going to survive. In the meanwhile, I had lived in Germany, and I knew that the Germans had decided Europe is going to be Christian or communist. There is no in-between. It's going to be Christian or it's going to be communist. And the Germans decided, we're going to keep it Christian if possible. And they started to rearm. And their intention was, by that time, the United States had recognized the Soviet Union, which they did in November 1933. The Soviet Union was becoming very powerful, and Germany realized, well, Our turn is going to come soon unless we are strong. The same as we in this country are saying today, our turn is going to come soon unless we're strong, and our government is spending 83 or 84 billion dollars of your money for defense, they say. Defense against who? Defense against 40,000 little Jews in Moscow that took over Russia and then, in their devious ways, took over control of many other governments of the world. Now, for this country to now be on the verge of a third world war from which we cannot emerge a victor is something that staggers my imagination. I know that nuclear bombs are measured in terms of megathons. A megathon is a term used to describe 1 million tons of TNT. 1 million tons of TNT is a megathon. Now, our nuclear bombs had a capacity of 10 megathons, 10 million tons of TNT. That was when they were first developed 5 or 6 years ago. Now, the nuclear bombs that are being developed have a capacity of 200 megathons. And God knows how many megathons the nuclear bombs that the Soviet Union has have a capacity. So, what do we face now? If we trigger a world war that may develop into a nuclear war, humanity is finished. And why will it take place? It will take place because Act 3, the curtain goes up on Act 3. Act 1 was World War I. Act 2 was World War II. Act 3 is going to be World War III. The Jews of the world, the Zionists, and their co-religionists everywhere are determined that they are going to again use the United States to help them permanently retain Palestine as their foothold for their world government. Now that is just as true as I'm standing here, because not alone have I read it, but many here have read it, and it's known all over the world. Now, going to do. The life you save may be your son. Your boys may be on their way to that war tonight, and you don't know it any more than you knew that in 1916 in London, the Zionists made a deal with the British War Cabinet to send your sons to wars in Europe. Did you know it at that time? Not a person in the United States knew it. You weren't permitted to know it. Who knew it? President Wilson knew it. Colonel House knew it. Others knew it. Did I know it? I had a pretty good idea of what was going on. I was liaison to Henry Morgenthau Sr. in the 1912 campaign when President Wilson was elected. And there was talk around the office there. I was confidential man to Henry Morgenthau Sr., who was chairman of the Finance Committee, and I was liaison between him and Rollo Wells, the treasurer. So I sat in these meetings with President Wilson at the head of the table and all the others, and I heard them drum into President Wilson's brain the graduated income tax and what has become the Federal Reserve, and also indoctrinate him with the Zionist movement. And Justice Brandeis,
which is simply communism, illuminism, fascism, all those isms I told you about. Remember? Nazi, National Zionists.
Was just as incompetent when it came to determining what was going on as a newborn baby. And that's how they got us into World War I, why we all slept. Send our boys over there to be slaughtered for what? So the Jews can have Palestine as their commonwealth. They fooled you so much that you don't know whether you're coming or going. Now, any judge, when he charges a jury, says, gentlemen, any witness that you find has told a single lie, you can disregard all his testimony. That is correct. I don't know from what states you come, but in New York State, that is the way the judge addresses a jury. If that witness said one lie, disregard his testimony. Now, what are the facts? The Jews, I call them Jews to you because they're known as Jews. I don't call them Jews. I refer to them as so-called Jews because I know what they are. Now what happened? The Eastern European Jews, who form 92% of the world's population, of those people who call themselves Jews, were originally Khazars. They were a warlike tribe that lived deep in the heart of Asia. And they were so warlike that even the Asiatics drove them out of Asia into Eastern Europe. And to reduce this, so you don't get too confused about the history of Eastern Europe, they set up this big Khazar kingdom, 800,000 square miles. Only there was no Russia, there were no other countries, and the Khazar kingdom was the biggest country in all Europe. So big and so powerful that when the other monarchs wanted to go to war, the Khazars would loan them 40,000 soldiers. That's how big and powerful they were. Now, they were phallic worshippers, which is filthy. I don't want to go into the details of that now. It was their religion, the way it was the religion of many other pagans or barbarians elsewhere in the world.
They're talking about the regenerative force, which is the obelisk of Freemasonry.
With the degeneracy of his kingdom.
But this is the Mystery Babylon aspect.
A so-called monotheistic faith, either Christianity, Islam, the Muslim faith, or what is known today as Judaism, really Talmudism. So, like spinning a top, he said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and he picked out so-called Judaism. And that became the state religion, and he sent down to the Talmudic schools of Tel Aviv and Surah, and brought up thousands of these rabbis with their teachings, and he opened up synagogues and schools in his kingdom of 800,000 people, 800,000 square miles, and maybe 10 to 20 million people, and they became what we call Jews. There wasn't one of them that ever had an ancestor that ever put a toe in the Holy Land, not alone in Old Testament history, but back to time, the beginning of time. Not one of them. And yet they come to the Christians and they ask us to support their armed insurrection in Palestine by saying, well, you want to certainly help repatriate God's chosen people to their promised land, their ancestral homeland, Italy. We gave you one of our boys as your Lord and Savior. You now go to church on Sunday and kneel, and you worship a Jew, and we are Jews. Well, they were pagan Khazars who were converted just the same as the Irish. And it's just as ridiculous to call them people of the Holy Land as it would be. There are 54 million Chinese Muslims. 54 million. And Muhammad only died in 620 A.D., so in that time, 54 million Chinese have accepted Islam as their religious belief. Now imagine, in China, 2,000 miles away from Arabia, where the city of Mecca is located, where Muhammad was born, imagine if the 54 million Chinese called themselves Arabs. Imagine. Why, you'd say they're lunatics. Any man that believes that those 54 million Chinese are Arabs must be crazy. All they did was adopt as a religious faith a belief that had its origin in Mecca, in Arabia. The same as the Irish. When the Irish became Christians, nobody dumped them in the ocean and imported from the Holy Land a new crop of inhabitants that were Christians, that had Christian flesh and blood. They weren't different people. They were the same people, but they had accepted Christianity as their religious faith. Now these pagans, these Asiatics, these Turco-Finns, they were a Mongoloid race who were forced out of Asia into Eastern Europe. They,
boy, this is awfully
because their
racist.
king took the
Mongoloids.
faith,
Oh man, you know, this is very new. This isn't PC, man. But hey, he's not calling anybody a nigger or a spick or
everybody had to be a Catholic. If not, you had to get out of Spain.
Or anything. He ain't using any bad language. Boy, I thought this guy was a Jew hater. I thought he was a Jew hater. Wasn't he a Jew hater?
So they all became what we call today Jews. Now imagine how silly it was for the Christians, for the great Christian countries of the world to say, we're going to use our power, our prestige to help repatriate God's chosen people to their ancestral homeland, their promised land. Now, could there be a bigger lie than that? Could there be a bigger lie than that? And because they control the newspapers, the magazines, the radio, the television, the book publishing business, they have the ministers in the pulpits, they have the politicians on the soapboxes talking the same language, so naturally you'd believe black is white if you heard it often enough. You wouldn't call black black anymore, you'd start to call black white, and nobody could blame you. Now, that is one of the great lies. That is the foundation of all the misery that has befallen the world. Do you know that on the Day of Atonement that you think is so sacred to them, that on that day, and I was one of them, this is not hearsay, I'm not here to be a rabble-rouser, I'm here to give you facts. When on the Day of Atonement you walk into a synagogue, the very first prayer that you recite, you stand, and it's the only prayer for which you stand, and you repeat 3 times a short prayer, the Kal Nidra. You enter into an agreement with God Almighty that any oath, vow, or pledge that you may make during the next 12 months, any oath, vow, or pledge that you may take during the next 12 months shall be null and void. The oath shall not be an oath. The vow shall not be a vow. The pledge shall not be a pledge. They shall have no force and effect, and so forth and so on. And further than that, the Talmud teaches, don't forget, whenever you take an oath, vow, and pledge, remember the Kal Nidra prayer that you recited on the Day of Atonement, and that exempts you from fulfilling that. How much can you depend upon their loyalty? You can depend upon their loyalty as much as the Germans depended upon it in 1916. And we're going to suffer the same fate that Germany suffered, and for the same reason.
I've covered a lot of ground here, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of things to think on. And lots more. This vast spider web. This bottomless pit of evil that is the New World Order. Check out Truth Talk News on YouTube and listen to Truth Talk News on UnitedFMRadio.com.
And we're back. Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? Certainly had a lot of interesting comments, regarding, I guess, the best way to put it is that he put into perspective what's happening today and why Israel is so beloved, so to speak, and so part of America, because the same banksters control it. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be sharp on this one. Saturday. Truth Talk News. I want to thank Keith and Mel here at UnitedFMRadio.com. Until Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week. God bless you all, and death to the New World Order.